movie last night. We shot the most depressing scene of my life.
That was a hard shoot.
Yeah, that was hard.
The lighting was hard to get. The acting was hard to get. The audio was hard to get. The actors were hard to get.
What are you talking about? It wasn't hard to get me.
Morris, who was supposed to be there.
Oh, man. I guess we're getting closer to the end of the final battle that we've been shooting for 2 years. Yeah, a lot of cancels of people being in the movie. It's never gonna get done. We're gonna make a DVD about an unfinished movie. It'll be called Never Gonna Get There.
That's actually kind of genius.
They could see what we do, and they're like, you know what? All they needed was support, and they could have had, you know,
Exactly.
they could have fulfilled their dream. But we only have so much power,
Yeah.
and we didn't get what we needed, so we couldn't. And you know what? That's never really been done.
It's true.
A movie
The show that we didn't get
about
the
a movie
support
that couldn't be done.
was about the support.
An adventure that became 10 years in the making.
Well, we both know that's not just a bridge.
One of the lowest budgeted features of all time.
We've all got baggage.
A project that began with 3 young men hoping to do the unthinkable.
You and corned beef have a little chit chat, a little talk, a little powwow behind my back.
And catapulted those young men into nothing more than they already were.
The hiccups were being like people showing up.
Like, we would always tell everyone about it. And Buzz like, we'll have everybody come out and do this. And that's when we're just thinking that we're gonna have all these people in this movie.
Change of plan! We gotta drop down on the rope!
I mean, anybody can run around and blow stuff up or kill somebody, but it's more about, you know, the heart.
What began as an independent action movie became a greater tale behind the camera. Our story begins with 3 teenagers, 2 brothers and a close lifelong friend who embark on their love of movies by making them.
They can do that? Yeah. They just send a little spike, goes right to my computer and blocks my calls.
But it was not until high school that the 3 became really passionate about their hobby. Working closely with an involved teacher, Scott Reeves and Eric Willard attended a video production class where the 2 were given unlimited access to video and editing equipment.
Just remember, as you go through life in video production, that Mo, Master of Excellence, knows all.
Even Buzz, Eric's older brother, would often become a part of the class, creating projects to work on even though he was not an enrolled student. Mr. Wood, a very laid-back teacher, allowed these kids to venture on their own ambitions, rather than follow the class curriculum.
How do you like working with Eric, Scott, and Buzz?
I don't. They're...
Alright, I just want to thank you for your time.
Oh, well,
Thank you for sitting down with me.
yes, and you should thank me because you have taken Mo's time, and it's worth a lot.
Nibco 444 became their first feature-length movie in the summer of '99, which garnered quite a cult following. Even after Buzz, Scott, and Eric graduated, they followed up their dream with multiple pictures featuring different genres.
My gut hurts. My back's here. Maybe if I shoot it. Where?
They delivered the mockumentary Lost Woods,
Your gun's not loaded, is it? You think that sound? oh. I scared it away though.
tackled action drama in All That's Left,
You just are. Come on, guys.
Oh! Trent, come on. Oh, you self-centered.
and tried stepping up the tension in the suspense thriller Paranoia. New projects arose, while others were not finished, and movie hopping became a bad habit. Always on the lookout for what would be worthy of a film festival, projects were all being produced simultaneously, from Death Club to Men of the Moment and Bumco Day.
No! You must bob for the apple.
I'm not gonna bob for the apple.
Just do it.
I want my money back. I'm not bobbing.
I'm not giving
Your
your money back. Bob for the apple.
I want my money back. I'm not bobbing.
Bob for the apple!
Buzz, Scott, and Eric moved in together, all working their full-time jobs in the real world, nevertheless, still trying to get projects moving forward. But alas, scheduling conflicts, losing actors mid-production, and drama behind the camera was how those projects met their demise. Scott moved out. Buzz and Aaric got their own place, and that's where a new chapter began. Buzz and Aaric had given up on making new movies. There was too much left undone, and although it was a chore, Scott, Buzz, and Aaric pushed to at least finish one of the projects they had started.
You don't know it though.
This is our third reshoot of this?
Although it was accomplished, it was not easy.
Yeah, we spent like freaking $50 for this night.
Yeah. We all set up for, what, a couple hours? Cleaning up the place. We went and bought food for him. He doesn't show up.
We could have done that shot. We could have done that shot. Could have done that shot. We could have done that shot. We could have done that shot. This is stupid. My storyboards show Josh.
The project was finished, and that was that. Although the guys were no longer shooting any movies, they had a great amount of fun producing DVDs of their past projects. After producing a spectacular 2-disc DVD for Nipco 444, they wanted to shoot a simple added scene for their 51-minute war movie drama, All That's Left. The shoot was not as easy as it should have been.
Okay, I'm gonna just pour some gasoline on the fire, okay?
Careful,
guys?
Be careful,
We'll
buddy.
do whatever, guys.
But nonetheless, the scene was finished. Only, being back in costume really brought back old memories for Aaric, and he recalled a movie idea that Buzz and him had played around with.
Me and Buzz had went on a family trip, a family reunion, and we went to Port Townsend and stayed at one of the houses over in that little town. And nearby, within walking distance, there was a little campground that you could go in, a military bunker.
We had discovered these bunker here, and we've never been in a place like that before, where these abandoned bunkers are up there available for anyone to kind of run around in, which they were kind of fun to just run around in. And we thought, wow, this would be really cool to have a movie in there someday.
We had a lot of fun in there, and we were so thrilled because we saw these pipes and stuff in one of the corridors, and it just became this constant thing of, if we were to make it, this would be cool if we did this.
I'm hanging out in my apartment that I lived with Aaric in, and I'm sitting around drawing something, and Aaric comes. I'm waiting, and Aaric comes home from work, and this day he showed up not in his usual work clothes, but he showed up in military clothes. All of it.
Dude, I got all this gear on. Don't you want to make a movie?
And I was like, what? You just bought some clothes and you want to do a movie about... I wanted to say, isn't there something to talk about here? Or, Aaric was just like, we did All That's Left. And the big complaint in that movie was it wasn't legit looking. And I really think we can do a movie with the military thing and make it look good and make it look legit and just make a great dramatic movie. And I was like, yeah, I'd like to try to attempt doing that.
I was basically like, well, maybe you should come up with a story, Buzz. Even though I was the one that kind of wanted to, because I hadn't written anything before, and Buzz was kind of known as a writer, so.
I wouldn't say we've had scripts, at least not for All That's Left. And so I kind of sat down and tried to develop a story that I would be interested in to go back and revisit that stuff. I know in the prior movies, like All That's Left, I was not comfortable showing lots of things. So in All That's Left, you never see bad guys getting killed.
Does anyone know where they are? Anyone spot them? I don't got any visuals here.
And stuff like that. Like, that movie was very tame, considering that it was like a military type movie. And it occurred to me that if I'm going to do a decent movie, I'm going to have to show villains. I'm going to have to show the other guys getting killed. And when I was addressing that, I realized that since it made me uncomfortable, that maybe the story should reflect how uncomfortable I was with violence. Let's do a story of these military guys kind of being fresh to the game, and by the end of the movie, they've been introduced to violence, and it really wears on them.
And before all that's left, we had one last mission, and that was just some fun movie we did with our cousin David, and we were all like really young, just wearing street clothes, but we were just visiting relatives at the time. Basically, that movie was a mission-based movie. It's like, here's your characters, you do your mission, oh, they succeed, good job. And all that's left tried to be more complex than that. We tried to go man against man, man against nature, man against self kind of thing. But they still had the mission, and they ended up actually turning away from the actual mission to go get some money because they're dishonorable, or whatever. But when Buzz, started writing the script, they need to have a mission to do, and then from there it can branch off. Him and me were basically in charge of the production. We were producing, and it was just me and him. We would live together, and I was like, so we need to get some people in this movie.
I was like, well, I think I should be in it, and I think you should be in it, and then from there we were like, well, who else do we know that actually likes us that we could get to be in this movie? And at that point, I think I had nobody. I quickly started thinking, oh, I'm going to hire people, not hire, but get volunteers from Kmart that I worked with to come do the movie. So I definitely had ideas of certain people at Kmart that were going to be in the movie. And Aaric quickly was like, Scott Reeves. He was in other movies. Of course he'd be in this movie. But at that time, I wasn't really talking to Scott. And I don't even remember what that was about. But Aaric was like, I think he should be on, and I think he should be a producer. And I was like, no. And I think I had an experience where I felt like Scott kind of backed out of something. And I think maybe in my mind I was concerned that he might back out of the project. And then also I just felt like he wouldn't take on that producer role.
So who knows how long that'll take. Buzz questioning my production hood. And and he was like, why is it Aaric Pictures on here? They don't do anything, which upset me, of course, because then I feel like I have no part in the movies besides being an actor. No, it's not always good times behind the camera. Sometimes there's trouble, but we always reconcile and we continue on with our movie making career and dreams. And just because Aaric Pictures might not be on the front of the movie anymore, that doesn't mean the movies won't go on. They might not be as good.
So one of the ideas Buzz came up with, shooting a short little video on how to get people to want to be in our movie, because nobody wants to be in our movie. You don't get paid.
Basically, we invented Kickstarter. But instead of finding people to put money into our movie to get it going, we put together something to convince actors to be in our movie.
Action!
Just a sad-looking shot of your face. Do it again.
Watch it! Okay.
Do it again.
You scared the crap out of me.
Why?
I look back and I see like 20 rocks on the wall. I didn't even stop.
We wanted people to be excited about being in a movie. We know it's a lot of the times it's dreadful, but we also find it a lot of fun, and we wanted to share our fun experience with somebody else, and so they would think it was fun. But to get people to be in the movie really you have to show them that it's kind of legit.
Okay, good.
Because we were very concerned about making sure this movie looked cool but realistic and great effects. When I say to my friends at work, I'm gonna make a movie, you wanna be in it? They're like, it's gonna be a joke.
Shoot a bunch of action shots and throw it together, do some effects on him, and him to the Fallen, I believe, from Saving Private Ryan, and I threw that in the background, and it just became that much more epic of a little trailer.
Because the whole point is we only had Aaric and me, and we knew we had to get other actors involved that we have never worked with before, and we had to convince them to do the project. So we showed that video to one person, I think, and he joined the production. The video worked. Then he left after a day.
And the only other person that saw it was Scott.
I really wanted in. It'd been a while since we'd made a movie, so I found out that this was going on.
You didn't edit this, did you? And so I'm like, Scott, if you want to be in this movie, you're gonna have to prove it to Buzz that you're willing to, be a big part of it, a producing part.
I don't know if there's like a secret alliance or some sort of rebel cause against my evil empire, but Aaric was like going to Scott, I think, and be like, well, Buzz is kind of coming up with the script and story, and we need to get you involved before he develops this too far.
And Aaric told me where he got the clothes, so I decided to force my way in by buying the clothes and just showing up, saying, look, I look amazing.
And he just kind of like showed up and was like, I got the costume, I kind of have to be in your movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's right.
So we just started saying, okay, let's make this. Let's make a movie out of this. Here's a rough idea of we're going to be mercenaries going out for whatever reason, and let's flesh out a plot.
We decided to do a movie about mercenaries because we just wanted to do it slightly different than All That's Left. And we felt like that was a movie that hadn't been made yet. There's so many movies about the army. Where's the movies about the Blackwater and those other agencies that are out there that are actually getting paid to do this security contracting job stuff? We felt like that was a movie we have not seen yet, so let's make it.
I mean, what we were looking for compared to All That's Left was, for one, realism and trying to just flesh out the story of these characters. I mean, pretty much you don't really know what's going on in All That's Left. You just know they're dropped out there and they're trying to get out.
We wanted a better story. We knew we could do better effects because we had upgraded our software, and we wanted to go out and see what we could do.
Everything, including costumes, the guns we're using, all of it trying to make it look more real. Not just out there with a BB pistol, doing this as much as I can so it looks cool.
One thing we wanted to skip over was having to come up with new characters for the movie. And we're like, well, we like our characters we played in All That's Left. And you got Jenks, Hash, and Trent. And I don't know, I think we somewhat became attached to those names, and we didn't want to let them go because we played these characters. We're like, well, let's make a prequel because Scott's character died in All That's Left. We can't make it a sequel, obviously. I think it's not really a direct prequel. It's kind of its own thing, but for the hardcore fans of All That's Left, it could be a prequel. Or we tried to make it that way, but there's no hardcore fans of All That's Left. So really.
So when Aaric first brought up the concept of paid with a dime to me, and was like, I bought this costume, I was like, how much was it? Because I don't know if I wanted to pay that amount for a costume. And Aaric told me, and I was like, okay, I guess I could afford that. But I was thinking, we'll buy the costumes, I'll convince the actors to maybe buy their costumes, and then we'll buy a couple prop weapons, and that'll be it. That'll be the budget of the movie.
We were going online. We need to find helmets, obviously. We just trying to get the essentials. We'll need some grenades probably. Let's buy a couple grenades. So Buzz and Scott would just, spend time
Old style.
both on a computer,
old style.
different rooms, back where Scott was living, and they're just looking online to see what they could find.
How is it coming?
It's not. Can't find anything that'll work for the movie. It's all like dark camouflage when we've already bought like colored outfits. Cheaper than dirt.com. That sounds good. Sounds cheap.
How's it going, Scott? What are you working on? Right now I'm editing a DVD of one of my movies, all that's left. And we're having some technical difficulties. So basically, on both parts of our studio area, right here and right here, we're having problems finding, what to do. What's the problem with the other studio area?
I just had this idea. Quick, get in on the action of the new idea. I'm thinking, what?
Oh yeah, make sure it's.
I'm thinking during the middle of the movie, maybe we want to show the realism and how things work. It's something.
It's gonna get the see-through gun.
You get the see-through gun, so the camera goes inside the gun and shows the bullets all.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever hire us and your project doesn't get done, this is why. Not on that site.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't.
That was on a different site.
So I have to look for stuff on this site?
You don't have to. I mean, I'll pay the shipping if you guys don't find anything on this site. I just figured maybe you would find something. Alright. There's the cash being passed around for these helmets.
Yeah, and I don't know where we got all this cash. I guess we were all single at the time, so it's like whatever money you made kind of just was whatever you want to spend on.
We're buying our helmets now, also some grenades. So, and as soon as we have the guns, I think our uniforms are pretty much complete. Oh, and shoes.
I found a bunch of old receipts and I added them up to just get an idea. And that wasn't even of all the stuff, obviously. And that was added up to be over $1,000 of stuff. And that doesn't include like all the digital tapes we paid for and the repeated camera breaking and buying new ones.
And then all the traveling too. I mean, that costs a lot, just going to different places and camping. So it's definitely the biggest budget we'd ever spent on a movie, and probably ever will, unless we become millionaires.
What kind of parents would you be letting get away with this? Oh, now it's a hunter. You know what? Okay, let it off, man. It's okay. We're under a lot of pressure, okay? You guys... You get your car back. Okay.
Even on their new movie, certain precautions were made, so cast difficulties would be less of an issue. They had been burned one too many times.
Well, he's all like, I'm like, do you want to be in it? And he's like, well, I don't. He keeps telling me he doesn't think he'll have time to do it. But that's, at least he warns me about that first. But I told him, I said, I only think we'll be shooting for a few days. And then the rest will be like reshoots. So he said he might be able to do that.
We're going to take time off work or try to do it over a weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do it over like a period of 3 days or something.
And then have reshoot days?
Yeah, no, basically what we're going to do is shoot the first 3 days that we have together. I would actually shoot the end sequence to get out of the way, and then we could just like shoot. If something goes wrong, we just like rewrite it so it makes it so those characters get to that point.
Why wouldn't so like the whole bunker thing, you mean? Or before that?
No, actually, see what the whole fight on the bridge, the last scene, we'll shoot that. That almost will be first because this is like the most kick butt scene in the movie.
Yeah, but maybe if a person drops out, how are you gonna have them come in at the end? Wouldn't you rather have it so they die earlier on? That's actually a good point.
That's true.
We really should have contracts on this with like death by breach.
Okay, I just had this whole idea. Let's set up the table. Okay, so this represents the tunnel underneath the road. Okay, this brown area is the embankment. Okay. I wanted to be very prepared for the actors that were not used to shooting with us, and so I wanted to be able to plan out the gunfights really clearly, and I wanted the battle scenes to be very realistic. And so I wanted to get into those detailed moments. And a lot of action movies I think are horrible because you just get a bunch of guys firing guns and it just cuts back and forth. And in my movie I wanted to see the distance between people. What are the actual steps that you would take to get behind cover here at point A to point B? Who would cover for you? I wanted to get those real moments.
How come Rice doesn't get hit?
Because they're crappy shots. They were just firing. They basically have their machine guns and they're just like, and it's just like.
Also because, you know, they're stormtroopers.
The tunnel. This guy's all like getting shot up too. He's like fire hitting the ground every once in a while, but it's just like Sam, with his sniper rifle, actually scares the crap out of these guys, and they don't even dare do anything else. And so with that, I'm a genius for coming up with that.
I think I felt like it was going to be the biggest movie we have ever done. And in our past movies, we've missed the mark. Like, all that's left, people saw the trailer and they thought, we're going to get an exciting movie that's filled with tension. And they saw the movie and they felt let down. And I felt the pressure to make sure that there was tension in this movie, great dramatic scenes. And so I went into overdrive on pre-production. Doing animations of how scenes would play out. I just wanted to really see what it would look like before we got there and shot it. And I didn't want to waste time because I knew since this is such a big production and cast that I've never used before, I wanted to be able to get the new cast members in and be like, this is exactly what we're doing and this is exactly what we're getting, so that I'm not wasting their time. But I ended up wasting their time, about 9 years worth.
This is what I was thinking, is like, here's the bridge the guys are fighting on. And the road goes up like so. Off that way. That's all underground, that hill.
Okay, so the shot would be like...
Oh, wait. What if... I'm sorry, but, I hate you guys. I always come up with ideas.
What do you mean?
This is the reality of it. I hate you.
Okay. You were wanting the shot to start...
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Here's them walking. Now the camera starts here. I was thinking it'd be better if it starts here. Like it follows them all the way from here, or wherever they're running from.
Yeah.
And then you get this upward view of the hill.
That's how I was picturing it. Like they're running up the hill to introduce it, and then just as they're getting over the hill, the camera is like, I'm gonna swing past here, and the camera almost like, if we could figure out how to get it to drop into there, so that by the time the shot's over, these guys have run up to this edge, and the camera's back here, and you see the whole fortress as they're running up to the edge. I was standing where I'm standing right now, and I did this part, and Eric did this part. And then when we flipped it over, Eric goes, notice something? Notice how my side is kind of mainly flat, and your side's got all these bleep lines in there. Bleep that out, please. Bleep out my bleeps. Okay, we got graph paper here so I can graph out the battle with these characters here so it's the size. And on the back side here we have duct tape because I want to make it into a jacket lid. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's like that so I can fold up the map later, and I can, when I'm on location, I can just pull this out and go, okay guys, here's the bridge, and these guys are running across the bridge here.
What did you choose to do? Why couldn't you have folded it without the duct tape?
I wanted to help protect it so the paper doesn't tear and stuff. But that's a very reasonable question, and I have no proper answer.
Stupid auto exposure. It's making you like light and bright. It's stupid.
Light, bright, you put the little things on the screen. I'm making a map of the area that we'll be shooting in. Isn't that great, folks? You recording?
Yeah.
Don't let the camera helm see you because that'll be weird.
I know.
We're gonna get our packages of stuff from for helmets and stuff for our movie. Yes, he's coming up to the door. And that was very exciting for us because we were like, we're gonna get some real stuff in our movie. And besides military clothes that we picked up at some retail store. And so when that stuff showed up at our house in the mail, we were like little schoolboys. We're like, dee! Wait a second, because it'd be weird. It says you're not opening it, so I have to wait a second. It'd be cool.
Is he already out?
He's got a box. He's got a box.
Is it huge?
It's like this big.
Okay. Okay.
Hi.
How you doing? Watch a lot of this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I played it cool.
Nice. What do you think?
I don't know. Way heavier duty than I realized.
Yeah, they're good. But sound like you're in World War II now or something?
Why? What am I wearing? What? They just throw this stuff in a box. It's pretty cheap company. Okay, this is the cheapest little piece. Cheapest piece of crap I've ever seen. It's even got a $7.95 tag on it. I feel like you just got a.
Alright, no.
Wait, this is not. It works, right? You got a non-working light or something?
Alright, these are what the helmets look like. Pretty sturdy. Here, watch people. Oh, hey, bud, what's up?
Oh,
hey.
you're
My little brother, man.
Hey, want to see my latest move? Okay, act like you're coming at me with a knife. Try your hardest, okay? Everybody hates it when I do that, but you seem to like it.
It's funny.
So how's it going, Buzz?
It's going. Oh, check it out. Go ahead.
What is that? That's gay, dude.
No, it's not gay. That's all like for my movie because my character, his name's Hash, and it's all it says Hash on there.
That's
gonna be for my movie.
That's yeah, okay. That's kind of cool. So why are you wearing them work?
This is Scott's. He bought the first. What is this? MA15. Scott bought it thinking this would look good. 180 something.
No.
What?
I think it was just $80.
$80 for this?
Yeah.
Well, that's not much.
I know. That's why we said all.
So when we started jumping into the online thing, let's like buy stuff that makes the movie look cool. I got very excited. I'm like, let's, since these guys are mercenaries, that means they can all kind of have their own thing. Like, I encouraged the actors to mark up their helmets and put what they wanted on their helmets. None of that happened. No one did any of that individual stuff.
Okay, this is unbelievable. Aaric is dead in battle.
Okay, this is our captain.
Okay. That's it.
Shake it a lot. Shake it downward.
Oh, look at that.
But what did come out of that was we bought different props for each other. Morris in the movie uses a different type of weapon than the rest of us. Some of us have leg holsters, some of us have shoulder holsters. And so there was that kind of difference. And I think we just got overexcited. We're like, we're getting really cool looking stuff that's legit, let's buy more. And I kept coming with more stuff to buy. And I don't know if it was really needed.
Of course, the three big actors, veteran actors, Scott, me, and Buzz, we've been buying most of the weapons, but we got a lot of assortment up here. I still got to paint some, but things are coming along pretty nicely.
Right now we're sitting at Kmart. If you look outside, you can see that. We are doing location scouting for some of the trailer scenes that are in the beginning of the movie. And Buzz wants this field with trees behind it, and I was out at my grandparents and I saw some places, so we're gonna go check them out. And maybe get some audio samples, because I was given a gun. That's my...
Looks like the beard's coming along.
Yes.
Why did you grow out the beard?
My character gets captured and beaten up all the time, so they don't usually give people razors when they torture them. Well, maybe in other places, but not on there to make them look good. It'll be probably a little over a month that I'll have had this beard by the time we film.
Well, it looks good.
It does.
Yeah. You're starting to get some gray hair in there, though.
It's not gray. It's blonde.
I found a tank that's like this big and it's remote controlled and you can.
You want to
come in? We can go look at it.
Did you get your schedule for the?
Did you? It's exactly like the small one I have.
You just have to take off the G.I. Joe.
Yeah, take the stickers off, rip the flag off.
And the paint job.
We're like, well, we'll end up shooting the movie at this certain date during the summer. And it's like we had all this time of waiting, and we're like, well, we're really anxious to shoot this thing. Let's do whatever we can to do pre-production to make sure that it's going to be good. We were coming up with anything and everything to kind of just pass the time. But we're like, oh, well, it's towards the movie, though, so it'll be helpful. So a lot of time was like, well, let's find some good locations to shoot at.
Before we even started filming, we would just drive out and be like, what could we do over here? We went out to my grandpa's out in Scappoose, Oregon, and he's just out in this farmland. So there's just wide open fields. We thought this would be great. We can have just a bunch of people running. There was these big pits full of water, which Buzz volunteered me and Eric to have to jump in.
That'd be sweet.
This is manure.
This is far.
You're filming poop?
Cardboard box with a painted ring on it. The kid shot an arrow straight into the sky, and the kid would catch it on the cardboard box as it came down. Well, they cut from the scene, and suddenly come back to it. Turns out a kid gets an arrow through his shoulder. Like, oh, it was brutal. It's like the stupidity of kids.
Want to wear my Kmart vest?
My arms are cold.
I knew I wanted to find locations that were vibrant and exciting to shoot in, just to make the movie visually dynamic.
Well, let's get some sound effects for guns too, because Grandpa had an arsenal of guns, a whole bunch of them, and we thought, well, for me and Buzz, I mean, Scott had obviously shot before, but me and Buzz really hadn't shot in any guns really. So that was kind of good training for me and Buzz to know how much to like kick our arms, and how loud it would actually be when you're firing.
He had a whole bunch of guns, so we used a lot of those for the sound effects. He had 45 pistols and shotguns and all these different things that we used.
Oh! Oh, I'm sorry. I was all like making noises in the mic. That's what I'm saying. We should have a teamwork. Eric's behind this gun. There's a little.
Is it on? No, it's off. I'm sorry. Shut my mouth here.
Okay, that was a little tense. Why did it do that? Oh!
You don't understand, audience, how loud it is. It probably doesn't sound that loud to you, but after that first thing, sound just goes whoop, and you hear a.
But we picked up some sound effects. We'd put the mic out on a hill somewhere sometimes and try to get little sound bits of debris falling.
Say goodbye to this pile of poop.
Oh, that was hilarious.
One more bullet. Get that other pile, Scott. Okay.
Unbelievable.
That's what you call blowing the shit out of something.
I remember some kid came up to us, some neighbor of Scott's grandpa, and he's talking about how his dad is like flies planes over the area, and Buzz is like, oh, you think we could talk to your dad and we could get a maybe take a ride in the plane, we can get some shots? And Buzz is always thinking like way like high above the clouds, like thinking whatever and everything. And when Buzz is like writing stuff in his script, he's like writes tanks and helicopters, and I'm just like, I have no idea how we're gonna do this. you know, you got to aim high, I guess, if you wanna try things. So
one of our location scoutings, we went out and it was just at this waterfall, just really nice cliffs and just very dynamic views and stuff, so we thought it would be really good for shooting.
This is the little black book, except it's big. Storyboards for the movie. And Buzz did it like a comic book, so we'll probably edit it like a comic book, kind of like how Hulk did his version. Ang Lee's a genius. That's all sarcasm.
These are the conditions we didn't know about, that it flooded, and now we have to find a good way to get across all this water without getting wet. This is the worst of our problems. There's no place to put my feet. You have to go across with your hands.
Sometimes we would go to a location and shoot a practice bit. And the idea again was that we wanted to make sure that we got the scene correct when we had enough. We always run out of time when we're shooting a scene. So we thought, well, let's practice it. So when we go out to this location, we will totally know what we need to do and get it right.
I think there was even a storyboard all drawn up for it with a mini script, and we did choreography for this whole fight scene where we confront some troopers, and we all just played it out, different roles, and we kind of got stupid with it, and we created this character named Carlos, who became most of the troopers, and he had an amazing voice. His accent was spot on.
Drop your gun!
You drop your gun!
You drop your gun!
There's three of us, one of you.
Yeah, but I aimed at you!
They'll shoot you if you shoot at me.
My gun's bigger than your gun!
No, it's not!
I have friends!
What? I have 3 people!
I have 4! Look what they did to Carlos!
I know, he was my best friend.
Good! Spider-Man!
Bam!
Carlos!
We just played out this whole scene, thought it would be awesome, and it's not in the movie.
Waste of time. Like, this would be cool to shoot here, and we'd waste like a day there checking out how cool it is, and then we would never go back. And so if we had just brought our gear there and had just shot the scene while we were there in the first place, probably would have worked. So in a lot of our movies we've done scripts, but we've also done a lot of ad-libbing, and I wanted to push for realism in this movie. So to do that, I knew that some ad-libbing would be necessary.
Acting was going to be a really big deal for this movie. Obviously there was much more of a character piece, so we tried to invest a lot of time in ourselves becoming better actors. I don't think any of us really ever thought we were amazing actors, and we had many people agree that that was the case. So we kind of did these improv classes.
I don't know if he got them out of a drama book or what, but one of the things he had us do was take 3 words
what's this category?
and throw them at us and say, okay, now act a scene on the spot, a monologue, and see, you know, you have to include all 3 of the words.
I had to shoot my brother today. Growing up, my grandpa gave me a gun when I was 22 years old. Kept it for a while. I thought it was on that road trip by that old place we used to own where my dad's buried. It's where we're all supposed to be. When we're old. Not now.
And I think that actually helped, but because of the timeline of the movie, we probably varied in our characters a lot. At least I did. I kept going in and out. It just took too much time. And I changed as a person, so I just kept bringing myself into it. So really, another waste of time.
My concern was I was going to get out to location to shoot this movie, and I would have to be dealing with teaching every actor how to actually handle a weapon, how they should be responding in scenes. I didn't want to have to go into all those details because I was going to have to worry about the camera, my own acting, running out of time to shoot the scene.
We're going to have to kind of give them the basics on a basic training on how to, look military-like. So we put together kind of a video showing people how they should move, whatnot. I mean, because me and Buzz got kind of research stuff a little bit, just watching DVDs on other Army movies and how they went to boot camp. So we kind of did our own boot camp, just video form.
If your comrade dies around you, you're not going to be like, that's too bad. You're going to be like, no! Something like that. What?
There's a whole process of testing that we had to go through of things we wrote down. We're like, we'll see if this works for when we actually shoot the movie, we'll know.
So pushing for professionalism in this movie, because again, this is going to be the big movie that we do.
It's kind of bumpy, but we'll
we
try.
wanted to do some of the stuff that you would typically have in a big movie, which is like dolly shots and just very smooth moving tracking shots. And so we were trying to figure out how could we do that, because we're always walking around with the camera and it's kind of shaky and bumpy. And
I worked at a retirement center. I was able to get myself some wheelchairs, and me and Buzz had just kept them for some reason because they're free.
Walking method. Okay, this is on Smith. Nice. All right, test one is a failure.
At least we don't have to bring the wheelchair now.
Yeah.
Well, it would be useful in the bridge when we actually do the movie.
Oh yeah, bridge. Good idea.
Okay,
Way to go, Buzz.
Thank you.
And then there came the realization somewhere along the way that who's going to haul a 75-pound wheelchair down this hill and then bring it back up and just forget it.
I loved preparing this movie. I wanted this movie to look so cool. And so Scott, me, and Aaric went out and just shot lots of footage of what possible effects we could do in this movie. It was kind of us exploring just to see what could we do in this movie. And in that stage, we got to figure out what exciting elements would happen in the big end action scene. So we tried an RPG effect.
Alright, we have arrived at the bridge. Buzz is working on our RPG. Can't see it, but there's a line going down the bridge to where that black thing is.
We had this thin wire across the bridge area that you couldn't see on tape, and we had the missile on there, and we'd have someone throw it down the line because the line would run through the missile and the missile would go slide down,
and it looked pretty good. I mean, the line, it was hard to keep it straight without breaking it, so it kind of there was a dip to it.
Unbelievable.
But if we, it would stop midway, but I would be up here and push it the rest of the way. It looked pretty cool. I mean, it kind of had a bouncing effect. I don't know if a rocket would actually do that, but it looked real.
Right next test, finally. Move, move.
But a lot of time we actually tried the smoke grenade, and the heat from the smoke, or I don't know what, but that fishing line just burned instantly, so you could just see it fall, and then we had to reset everything up again, which took forever.
We're to the left, that way. Go ahead. Don't get any closer. Go back. No, I'm still recording. Just act. Get over here, Buzz.
We were using smoke grenades, just the little ones you buy from 4th of July. And the issue with those a lot of times is their smoke is different color. Because I don't know why a grenade would ever have purple smoke, but it does.
And all that's left, we never show the enemy in that movie. Never. And this movie, I wanted to show the enemy, but I didn't have a big enough cast to show an enemy.
One of the things we had to decide to come up with is if we're going to be playing the enemy, they need to have masks. And I think that was kind of stupid at the time, and what I thought would be stupid. I'm like, why are these people wearing masks? But it's like you see these articles, magazines of Al Qaeda or whatever, and they're wearing masks. I'm like, well, I guess that works. I don't know why they wear them. Maybe they're always prepared for a windstorm. I have no idea. But, I mean, that's one of the few things that people, I think, don't question in the movie, and I'm like, okay.
We didn't want people to think that we were always just having ourselves in masks. So we knew we were going to have a shot in the movie that had a bunch of enemy in one shot.
We had tested some stuff on the Nibco DVD that we had made previously, where Buzz plays 3 of himself, and we did it so they were all in one shot. And we're like, well, let's use that same technology and just apply it to the troopers. And so let's set up a shot and see how many people we can get on the screen at once.
We set up the camera somewhere, and we all were down wearing enemy outfits, and we're getting ready to do this shot where a bunch of us are going to be walking around. And as we're preparing, I remember like kind of hearing something, and we were always kind of nervous, like if someone might come upon us shooting, especially with wearing masks. We just didn't want to freak people out. And I'd just be like, what? Did you guys hear something?
And we're like, duck down. What? I think I saw something. I think Buzz maybe saw something out the corner of his eye.
We're over here doing our thing here, talking to each other, and probably not really getting much filming done. But here comes the dog, and it's moving in on us.
Some dog wandering in the middle of nowhere.
That animal just like turned around and was like... And I'm really glad it wasn't an animal like a bear, or because it would have ate us.
I think it's about 7:30 or so. I think we've gotten a lot done. And we've gotten some cool stuff that we think we can do with the rocket.
We spent like an hour on the rocket.
But the rocket's sweet.
We were having the camera looking at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
What if we just had the rocket go by? And you're like,
we have smoke coming out?
We don't have to worry about that just yet.
Okay. His ear's gone. Wait.
He stayed still.
Got it.
I thought it was hilarious when he stayed still. Is all.
It worked really well. I think it hit me a few times. Actually, it didn't work at all. It looked really bad.
Okay.
Oh! Damn, that stings. Dude, we can have some guy's head get blown off. Eric, doing animations, guy's head going. And it pops off.
Blood going. Okay.
We also had extinguishers, which I got from work, which were expired. The maintenance guy, he's all, here you go. I don't know what you're going to use them for. I'm like, I'm going to use them for, that's my business. But I wanted to spray people in the face with them. That's what I wanted to do.
And Eric took them and was like, we can spray this stuff. It looks like an explosion. I'm like, that's great. Let's go test it and waste it and not have any left for the movie.
It would linger in the air really well, so it just looked really, really epic. Like you're running out of the smoke. It's like trailing off you. And also it tastes fantastic. I just licked it up.
And I think he described it to me as kind of tasting like lime and a little bit of death.
Again.
My face, man.
What? Alright, now run at Eric and he'll spray it in your face.
So there is one major stunt with the fire extinguishers. Most of them were just running. But we wanted one because a lot of our stunts were just too simple. We needed something more dangerous.
Buzz like, well, let's do a stunt where we have a guy jump off the bridge, but, you know, there's an explosion before it, and he jumps through the smoke, and it'll be awesome.
And like land on the ground down below. It was a very sweet stunt, a very hard stunt.
there is a lot of rocks right at the bottom. So it's not safe.
And I was gonna do that stunt.
All right, well, Buzz, that's a great idea. You should do it. You haven't done anything yet. Buzz was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. So camera gets down below underneath the bridge.
Get back.
Scott's ready to spray.
Go.
Action. You hear this running. You hear this running coming up to the bridge, and then you just see this silhouette and just stands there. It's just he got afraid. That's what happened.
So Buzz didn't want to do it, so we volunteered. Well, Eric did. He's like, I got this. So he jumps off, and he lands quite poorly.
Yeah, action.
I did it, and I actually didn't even do it that great. I sprayed up in my eyes, and I couldn't see where I was falling. I thought I was going to fall on these boulders that were directly underneath the bridge, but I was lucky and I jumped far enough out because I tripped on the way up. Because you can't see anything, man. That's just like sprayed in your face.
Oh, that. Get up your nose. My eyes are blinded. Oh, and then I land on my groin.
So me, with my everlasting love of the fire extinguisher, I'm like, I got this. Just spray it in my face. It'll make me stronger.
We just wanted to see how it looked, and Eric did the stunt, and we're like, that looks awesome. We know we can put that in the movie because it looks awesome. And Scott was like, oh, Buzz didn't do the stunt? I'm going to do the stunt, even though we don't even need to do it anymore.
So I did it, and I landed perfectly. I did a sweet roll, and I got up, and I looked awesome.
We've already shot test footage. We know it looks awesome, and Scott does it just to like rub it in my face. Is what that was. It was ridiculous, and that stuff was sweet. Not in the movie.
When time came to begin principal photography, a cast had not been locked down, and little changes were still being made in the script. Yet, production went underway, with the crew relying on hope that particular problems would iron themselves out in due time. The first big shoot was to be on location at an actual military bunker. Scott was finishing up growing his beard out, while Buzz finished prepping for the important road trip.
The facial hair for me, it was the first time I ever grown a beard. I always was a little scruffy, because I'm lazy. People kind of thought that I was just letting myself go. I would go to church and be like, what do you do? Why aren't you shaving? And my response was always a little flippant, where I would be like, I'm growing a beard. How am I supposed to grow a beard if I'm never going to have this stage? And these were people who had beards. Like, I would like to look like Moses.
I was seriously concerned that when we got to a location as far out as Port Townsend, that we would not be ready for what we needed to have. So decided that not only did I need to animate little figures to show where people would be moving and so everyone understood the movements, but I also needed to drag the little army men and stuff to show action. And then I also needed to have the actors act out the scene in front of black, so we have an idea of what we'll need to be doing.
This is the first good reason they had us do laps on those monkey bars back at training. Hang tight.
But then we also shot the scene out there. So, really prepared.
Alright, what movie are we filming?
Paint with the Dime.
I think they even find that out from Few Productions.
Oh my. Fine. Why am I even filming at all?
No, I hope
Alright guys, if you for some reason selected production first, go back and watch pre-production, and then don't even watch production because it's just the same stuff.
Yeah.
I hope they can tell what movie this is for when they buy the movie.
Went to my dad and was like, hey, could you tell us how to get to the bunkers on the coast? And he proceeds to give us directions to not Port Townsend. And we're like, oh great, so this will take us to where the relatives were. And he's like, yeah. And we're like, awesome. And after some discussion we realized that no, this is not the same place.
And we're finally here. We've been eating some good. Gummy snacks.
Wait, nobody cares what we ate.
Well, this part looks kind of normal, but the other part was like these empty guardhouses. It's just creepy.
I guess we're heading back towards
Okay,
them.
Whoa!
I
You're
couldn't.
freaking an idiot. I'm sorry.
No, I was kidding.
Yeah, right. That's like the Nipco.
I was just gonna tell you, I'm like, there's a deer. There's a.
That's because they looked around and something was moving in front of us. I wasn't there a second ago.
Actually, I can't believe Eric screamed that loud. That's so bad.
I wish I could.
Buzz's car was not the best. The battery was loose, so it would just suddenly shut off as we're driving. It would just disconnect.
Right before our trip, I used to drive across this big field to sneak across to Fred Meyer's from my apartment complex. And going across this field, I hit a bump and my car was like that, and my car kind of cut out a little bit, and I had to check my battery and like hook it up tight again, and I was good to go. That happened like right before our trip. And we went on the trip and we got going and the battery died, and Scott had to get out and like make sure the battery was in there good so the battery could run and the car could go. And that became an ongoing occurrence for the rest of that trip.
Just at that. Oh, at least we're getting pretty good at it.
We're driving through the woods. It's pitch black. Like, I don't know if the moon's out or what, but we're just driving. We're all like, man, it's dark. We gotta find a way to get into this fort, right? And I'm driving. The battery slips off. The car dies completely. And when I say completely, the headlights go out, the dash lights go out, everything goes out, the engine goes out, the power steering goes out, the brakes go out. Everything that's like important in a car goes out.
I think we're getting close, Buzz. I'm feeling good about this. Finally get to shoot. Finally get to shave after this shoot. Yeah.
It's dark out, guys, isn't it? I think it's dark too.
Hey, your car hasn't turned off in a while. That's nice, Buzz.
Pure black. Can't see anything. We're screaming like girls. It was awesome.
No hazards. There's no power.
Ah.
It happened once again. Give me the light. Oh man, unbelievable. Luckily we got off the road in time.
A lot of misadventures. Found out it's gated and there's security and it's only open at certain times, and it would be very difficult to shoot in.
We kind of know where the bunker is. We're going to try to park kind of near it and then try to go through the forest, at least to see what it's like and how big the security is.
After all this work, the bunker better to look good, Scott.
What? Hey, this is the one everyone told you to go to. So I don't know. I mean, we've been driving a lot, and I hope it doesn't turn out to be nothing.
And so, Port Townsend it was.
It's down here. Oh, I see
I don't remember walking
that
far.
Out of like our 3-day shooting schedule, we just lost ourselves one of those days.
I don't know how many miles that trip was. I think I read a whole book just sitting in the back seat, killing time.
We went up there and we found exactly what we were expecting to find.
And so our plan of action was, of course, okay, we gotta film at night. For one, we're dressed in complete camo and carrying a bunch of guns.
Our plan was, we're gonna go to the campground, we're gonna get a campsite that's next to the bunker. In the middle of the night, we're gonna sneak in there and do that thing.
But we were kind of doing some prep, getting ready for the shoot that night, and just talking about what had to happen. And the ranger pulls up next to us. I don't know why he singled us out.
He's like, this is a great camping spot because you can do bunkering. And I'm like, what's bunkering? And he proceeds to let us know that that's when you go through the bunker and all that stuff. I'm like, cool, and we're excited. And he's like,
well, you know, there's no trips in there at night. I'm like, how? What does he know? No, officer, ranger man, we won't be going in there at night. That would be bad.
And then we get to the awkward moment where the ranger goes, so you could put, you guys have a tent to put right here. And we're like, no. And he's like, you don't have a tent to camp? You're in a campground and you didn't bring a camping tent. And we're like, no, we had not thought that far ahead in our plan. We just thought we will just pay for the campsite, and us parking our car there would get us access. So the ranger's just like, well, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, we're gonna just sleep in the car. And I'm sure in that guy's mind, he's like, stupid kids. You can park your car anywhere in this town. You can park your car anywhere. You paying money to park your... In fact, he did say something like that. He said, like, you want to pay to sleep in your car here? And I'm like...
But I think that guy knew what was going down, because he explored a lot at that night as we went in, and it led to a very unfortunate debacle of us getting lost, going to wrong areas. Eric going to the beach, I'm hiding in some weeds, and him shining his lights trying to find me. We met back at the car, panicking that we were going to get caught, and I think we slept for a little bit, or we just waited. We killed some time, it seemed like, while we waited for the ranger to stop looking for us.
We just went really early in the morning. I mean, who's going to wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to go in the bunkers? So that was our good shooting time when nobody was going to be cruising around in them.
And that worked pretty good. The place was so big that people wandering around in the bunkers was not very likely to run into us, especially when we found hallways that went way far back. No one would bump into us. We would hear kids running through the halls going, ah, and they're like, ee. And other kid sounds. I think they also sound like,
So many things went wrong with that shoot, but so many things went right as well. We were really great at jumping on to compromises and getting it done, even though so many things were working against us.
During the shooting of the stuff in Port Townsend, we had to charge the battery, and we're just in a car, so we brought a gas electric thingamajig, scientific stuff where you can charge your camcorder on, and the thing's kind of loud, and it's like outside the car running on gas, building electricity to charge our camera, and we're all just kind of chilling there with all our gear in the back of the car, and all of a sudden I hear like a knock on my window. Like Scott's in the back, Eric's next to me, and I hear a knock on the window, and I'm just like, what? And it's a ranger, and he's just like, and I roll my window down, and I'm like, hi. He's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, we're charging our video camera. We're shooting stuff with the camera, and our battery died, and he's like, okay. I'm like, is that okay? He's like, yeah, that's okay. It's okay. You can charge that. That's fine. What are you using the camera for? Well, we're just shooting stuff around, because this place is cool. You got bunkers. It's cool stuff. He's like, yeah. I see you're all wearing military gear. Like, you got the camouflage stuff going on. You got the camouflage jacket, the pants. What's that about? Well, we're making a movie. He's like, oh, okay, so you're making a movie. I'm like, yeah, yep. Having fun at the bunkers, just making a home movie. And he's like, okay, what kind of movie is it? Like, oh, well, it's like an action movie. Like, we're fighting and stuff in the movie. He's like, oh. So you guys like using like prop guns in this movie? No, we're not shooting with prop guns. Well, what kind of movie are you shooting? Like we're fighting with our hands, karate and stuff. He's like, really? Like, that's what that kind of movie you're making? You're yeah, that's the kind of movie we're making. We're just messing around, dude. We're making a movie. We got these outfits, and we're just we fight and punch each other, and we choreograph some stuff. And he's like, so no prop weapons? I'm like, no. In the back of my head, I'm like, I really hope he doesn't open our trunk, because we got like 10 rifles in the back. And I'm like freaking out that he's gonna discover this. And he's like, well, just so you guys know, like, prop weapons, you can't do that. You can't. Because that would be scaring the folk around here, and that'd be a problem, and you better not have prop weapons. Don't be using them here. You understand? Yeah, well, we'll just keep doing our fighting thing in this movie, like with our fists. And we're yeah, okay, yeah. And he left. He's like, all right, well, have a good day. And I'm just like, yeah, we're gonna have to sneak even carefuler. Anyway, so the ranger says no shooting with guns, so we gotta sneak it in there. We're told no, and our response is, you. We're doing it anyway.
The production seemed to be off to a rocky start, but things couldn't get any worse. Or could they?
In any movie I've made, people showing up has always been a problem. So it kind of became normal for me. Let me think here. Nipco, we lost Josh. In Men of the Moment, we lost Josh. And we lost Paul and Travis, yeah. So, I mean, I've had a history of losing actors throughout the production and have to like reshoot stuff to make stuff work. And Paid with the Dime was kind of the epitome of that, though. Like, which it makes sense. It's a very long production and lasted forever. But like actors disappearing after a day, actors disappearing after like maybe 3 days of shooting.
Kim Sean was one of the first cast members that joined. We worked with him a little bit, and he helped us out on trying to reshoot Man of the Moment before that movie came on DVD.
I liked working with Kim Sean at work. He's kind of random and sporadic. You didn't know what you would get from him. He would say stuff that I would be like, that's funny. I don't even get it.
Oh, let's see. Oh, good jump. You look like a hunter, not a terrorist.
I can't believe we jumped.
I know. Who jumped?
Eric jumped from here into that.
When?
When we were doing just now. You didn't see it?
Man, you're fast.
And I kind of knew going in that he would just bring that to the character. I would be feeding him lines. You know, I've scripted lines and stuff, but he's also going to say stuff that I wasn't prepared for and bring a little reality to the movie. So shooting with Kim Sean was nice.
It's out here. Right? The rifle here.
This is heavy, dude. Walk around with stuff all day.
We shot, I think, 2 days with him.
Kick him in the face.
Kick him in the face?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There should be one last.
Oh. And after that, he pretty much always had things going on, and so we kind of, if you don't want to be in our movie anymore, we kill you off. So, so that's what we did with this footage, basically.
A major decision had to happen that would make the entire year's shoot obsolete.
So I'm going to start the movie with the big flashy trailer at the beginning of the movie and work my way through to the realism, and the actors are slowly like getting a taste of what it's like to actually kill people. And no one at the beginning of the movie, no one had killed anyone. And I remember in the script, like, this is the scene where this is the thing that makes Jenks snap and finally kill someone. And this is the scene that finally makes Hash realize he needs to kill someone. And there was all these bits. The whole movie was built up of like, this is what made that person finally say he needs to kill someone. These guys are supposed to be like badasses and mercenaries that know what they're doing, and they're all on a mission together. There's no person that's supposed to be better than them on the mission.
I've never killed a man.
And this became a problem because like we shot a bunch of stuff, we shot a bunch of scenes where I'm like talking to Jenks and trying to explain to him like, well, you know, it's easy to kill someone because there's like this magical bullet.
You know what Sam told me once? Bullets. Magical bullets, he said. In your rifle. And you just pull the trigger, just nice and easy. Just pull it back. And that bullet, it's its own thing. It does the killing. Not you.
I'm making up stuff about this stuff, trying to convince Jenks that he could kill people, and it's like, this is stupid because Hash hasn't killed anyone. And where does he get off telling Jenks how to kill someone and he's never done it? And they're all green, and we're all trying to act kind of badass, but we're not, and we don't know what we're doing. We shot a bunch of scenes with this stuff. I wrote the whole script was that concept.
I think that's my worst performance ever. Sorry.
You want to do it again?
No, I know I'm not gonna get better. That's why it sucks.
You don't want to try that again?
Huh? No, because I know I'm not gonna get any better. I just suck.
You don't suck.
So yeah, hopefully everything goes good. This movie's taking a lot longer than I thought it would to make. It's mainly problems dealing with people coming. It's a problem we always deal with.
Somewhere along the way, me and Buzz had shot a lot of footage. Scott was with us on every shoot. What's sad is Scott didn't have a big part really in the movie at the time. So it was just basically him coming out to shoot. And I think that might have been upsetting to Scott, because he liked to be in front of the camera as well.
I specifically remember a night where I got a phone call from Scott. And I don't know if this is like something that had been sitting with him for a while or what, but he called me up and he's like, look, dude, we need to talk about like the movie and like what's happening.
It just kind of goes back to our thinking that these characters wouldn't be in this type of a situation if they weren't willing to be there. They wouldn't be afraid to kill people and stuff like that. So we took the script and had a big meeting about it, kind of rewrote it, or just the concept of it, to try to make it make more sense from an audience perspective so that they could agree with what the characters were doing and they wouldn't question what was going on. It didn't meet with the best agreeance.
And basically what Scott was saying was, your whole concept of going from like flashy movies where violence is not a big deal to the end where violence is realistic and the people experience that at the same time, the audience experiencing it at the same time as the people in the movie. That was kind of the experiment of the movie. Scott's kind of like, you kind of have to get rid of that. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, it doesn't make sense for the characters. And he was right. Which is, I guess, why he's producer.
And it wasn't really that great of footage. We have interesting conversations. The audio's terrible.
You know Sam? You know Sam? He seems in control. You know Sam?
I'm sorry, I just tripped up.
Hey, look, we're making this harder than it needs to be.
I'm like, this is a nice shot.
We kind of scrapped that footage and we kind of started over from scratch and just used what we had. Maybe if it was usable, put it in the trailer at the beginning of the movie. But this is after we'd already been shooting for like a year or so. I don't know.
The whole character piece, really, that was supposed to be, these characters are in this and they're having to deal with these certain things, it was gone. And so I'm sure from a writer's standpoint, if you're going to take a story and just say, your main idea, no, we're going to do it this way. So I would never want to be in a position where I'd written a story and I present it to a publisher and they're like, yeah, this is good, but not. So let's change it. So, that would be hard to take in, but at least Buzz was willing to hear us out and willing to make the changes.
And that's when we came up with certain things like Jess's death and, the arc of the characters. And it wasn't until then that we had a clear picture, even though it wasn't a full picture, we had a clearer picture of where we wanted to go with it.
Knowing that certain characters still needed to be filled, Scott and Aaric were urgently trying to pull things together, even behind the director's back.
Kim Sean was one of the coworkers I had planned on using for Paid with a Dime, and there was another guy I had in mind for the kind of the sniper character of the movie. And he's kind of a quiet guy at work, and I imagine the sniper being kind of a quiet guy, and he seemed to fit the bill. And Scott and Aaric kept telling me, like, have you talked to him about being in the movie? Like, will he actually be in the movie? And I kept saying, yeah, this will be the guy. Yeah, I know I gotta still talk to him, but he'll be the guy. I think eventually I talked to him and it became very clear that this was not the guy. And that was after like a couple of months of me telling Aaric and Scott that that would be the guy. So I was like, I don't know who to get, and someone suggested we get Josh Prusha, who had backed out of NIBCO and Men of the Moment, and so I was definitely concerned about shooting with him because I didn't want to have to deal with another actor backing out. And he didn't even live in town.
He lived down in Redmond at the time. He had gotten married and he had a job down there.
So I was all very iffy about that. Now, I don't remember the stuff clearly, but I imagine the way it played out was, Buzz, we really need to get Josh in this movie because we know him and it works. And, oh, did we mention there's a tank in his town that we could shoot at? And then I was like, oh, well then Josh Prusha it is.
And lo and behold, I get a knock at the door, and there the guys were ready to, you know, start filming.
So I remember getting to Redmond really late. In fact, or like someone was sleeping. They were sleeping when we got there. So we got there so late that Josh and his wife was sleeping, and that we had to waste time. So we went around town shooting stuff around town with Scott, and this will be cool because the town's deserted right now. And then we were like, Scott and me were like, well, we still got to shoot the tank stuff really early too. So we went to bed late, really late, and then got up again really quickly and went to do the tank stuff. Now, this is like the one time Aaric did not actually come on a shoot. Aaric was a pansy, that's right. Like, that's the kind of thing I'm a little more comfortable with. It's not the stunts, but doing stuff where people will see me being an idiot. I'm wearing the trooper's outfit, the mask, and I'm trying to sneak around when cars are passing. And surprisingly, there's a lot of cars driving around at 5 a.m.
It was barely light because we needed some light for the shoot. And there was this cop that kept circling around.
Oh, crap.
Unbelievable. How many people live in this town?
As I come over here, I see that it's looking right at me. I'm like, oh,
Scott was like, a dude that's a cop car, you should take the mask off and not look like a terrorist. So that was kind of a little nerve-wracking, but that's the thing I'm more comfortable with. That is like a fear of our crew, is being seen by others while we're shooting our movie. Like, every place we shot at, that was a fear. Even up in Hawkinson, we're shooting by the bridge, that was a fear. Aaric was always like, do you hear a car? Is there a car coming? Are there people out here that might see us wearing this stuff? Because what would we say? Because there's nothing we could say that would make us not look like idiots. I think that was the deep dread of Aaric, was looking like an idiot. And that happened a couple times where we all hid behind rocks when people just drove down the road. Seriously, if they had talked to us, they'd be like, oh, you're making a movie, okay. And they'd get in their car and they'd drive off and say, idiots.
Yeah, it was very challenging doing shots in a movie that you don't even know what you're really doing, if it's going to be in the movie. Things were not discussed. Okay, we're going to put this in this part of the movie. I mean, the movie was split up in so many different parts. You know, it's not like you're playing baseball and you know, hit the ball and you hit first base, second base, third base, and then home. There's times where we're going to third before we go to first.
There was actually some scenes with Aaric's wife, Clara. They were supposed to be married in the movie, apparently. But he's really mean to her.
Julie! Where'd you put my razor?
What?
Where did you put my razor? It's not there.
It's right in front of you.
Why do you always gotta move my stuff?
And we shot a scene where we were like, oh, maybe Morris and Hash will argue when we were shooting that.
You know what his problem is? Maybe you're not covering his back sometimes.
I am covering his ass. He doesn't cover mine.
Yes. No. Entire platoon spotted over the ridge. Gotta go. Come on.
We'll talk about this later.
You bet we will. I'm gonna kick your butt.
And like as we were shooting that, we ad-libbed and started fighting, physically fighting, and Trent ran in, like separated us. That ad-lib is like, grew into this whole thing of the movie where Morris and Hash don't like each other, and it became this thing where they didn't trust each other.
There's a couple times where we just ad-libbed. He would just say, okay, this is what I want, and we would have a script, but for some reason one of us would kind of change it up and the other one would just follow that person's lead. And sometimes having a script is a good thing, but sometimes just
you know, freeballing it or letting it just roll or play out is better. And I think in this particular scene, it just happened. I mean, you can't even stage it, and if you tried to reenact it, you're not going to get the same response because it's just came out natural. I think after we were done filming it, we were all kind of looking at each other like, what the heck just happened? Because it was more supposed to be just an argument, and it turned out to be more of a physical altercation, but I think that's what made it great.
There's a movie that I kind of referenced a lot for our movie, in the sense of what I was kind of going for in terms of realism at the end of the movie, which is the movie Way of the Gun, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. The end battle scene in that movie I think is amazing. Like, that is what I wanted. And in the commentary, Chris McQuarrie talks about how someone asked him about the character's backstory. And he's like, oh, their backstory is just nothing but a trailer, like a movie trailer. And he toyed with that idea, like, oh, I'll do that. I'm going to shoot like a trailer for a movie. The movie doesn't exist, but it's just the trailer, and we're going to see the back history of these two characters in it. And he never got to shoot it. I kind of took that idea and was like, I'm going to put that in my movie, because the trailer is like the epitome of Hollywood and Flash.
Was your introduction to the characters. Like, here's Trent, and here's Hash, who's their leader, and he's yelling at him to do certain things, and here's this conflict that's going on between him and Morris. So it kind of preps you for what you are going to be seeing throughout the movie.
And we didn't know structurally where this was going to go. We knew that we were going to be playing around with that, and that was going to be fun. Like, editing wise, we're going to have fun with having all these backstories, and if we can, put them together. But we shot like whole bits with, like, Trent's backstory was going to be, he was going to be a social worker because I was a social worker. I kind of wanted to be able to put some of that in there, and that he was going to be burned out by the horrible stuff he sees in the job, and he was going to at some point become more tough and deal with things on his own. And to show that, we shot a scene where he's a burglar breaks into his home. He's got to deal with that. And that kind of shows you where he's kind of like, I can deal with stuff on my own, and I'm going to continue doing that. And that's when he joins up with this agency.
So he's willing to be more of a cutthroat mercenary role that he was in, where maybe he was more of the family man before, but that whole him coming into a family role where he's married actually brings him closer to that brink, where he's like, I'm not putting up with it. I'm gonna start doing more drastic action.
That's like his backstory. And we shot a whole sequence of that happening where a burglar breaks in, and to make it even more vulnerable for him, we decided to shoot him naked. Make that more of a character moment, because we're like, we really want him to feel vulnerable in this scene. How can we do that? And I think I was like, we could make him naked.
No.
And we're all like, yeah, well, that makes sense, and it's kind of funny. We should shoot that because that would be funny to shoot. And then we started shooting it.
Oh!
Oh, it's awkward. I don't think I realized in the planning stages that I'd be rolling around with like a naked Scott Reeves.
But I didn't want to be actually naked, because I didn't want to make everyone feel bad, you know, because there's some anyway. So I didn't have any. My boxers were longer, so I couldn't wear those because it would be too hard to cut it. So instead, I wore my wife's bathing suit as a bottom, backwards, of course, because I need more room to hide some things.
Panties, basically.
So we're in the middle of shooting. It's really awkward because me and Buzz are tangling around. He's rolling around on top of me. Things are touching. It's bad. And Josh walks in.
Come in. Come in. We're not shooting right now. We're in the middle of this. I'm wearing a fucking spin. I'm supposed to be naked in the scene. That's so gross. That's so gross. What the f***? And you're filming?
Yeah, I was kind of questioning the director, Buzz Willard, why he would add, why this part of the movie was so necessary. I mean, here, a couple days before, a couple weeks before, we're running around in fatigues and running around in army gear, shooting guns and shooting at troopers, and then, I don't know, a couple weeks later, there's half-naked men running around, trying to fight off bad guys, and you're like, what the hell does this have to do with the movie? But, when the director has a vision, you just go with it.
I don't think any of that is in the movie. So either my character just developed in a different way, or Buzz just loves my body. And I think the latter is more accurate.
He cuts it out because he loves your body.
No, he just wanted to film it. He didn't care if it was in the movie. He just wanted that scene to play.
The script kind of called for a recruit, somebody that can kind of lead you into the business, and that's kind of a technique used by a lot of films, I think. Kind of you have your newbie, and that newbie's experience is what the audience is feeling because they don't know the world around them, and so through that new person, you kind of learn everything.
We had all these different people that Buzz was saying they were gonna come, and they never did. And so eventually I think me and Aaric just filmed an audition with Nate, just saying, hey, come, we'll do this scene and hopefully that'll get you in.
Originally I was really excited to be in the movie and be a part of it because it's been a long time since I've been in one. I think last movie I was actually in was, I think, Nedco 444. It'd been a long time. In that scene that we did, I think a lot of it was ad-lib, and I briefly remember playing pool and kind of working out a small scene with Aaric.
It's not even pool, it was bumper pool, I think. And we're just talking about the business, and we're just, kind of ad-libbing it. And then I was going to take any of that footage, put together, and like, oh yeah, see, you can act that part, Buzz.
Don't look at the camera, just go.
I was curious if we were going to keep that.
After the initial casting, Scott and Aaric talked to Buzz.
Buzz agreed to have him, as far as that whole intro where Buzz is saying, are you sure you want to do this? Are you up for it? Nate was in that role.
One of the parts originally took place in my old apartment, where Buzz's character comes to me and basically tries to recruit me into the company of mercenaries. We just have a conversation about what it means to be mercenary, I guess. If I remember right, it was about money and the world and a bunch of other stuff. It was very political.
And after that, Nate suddenly decided he's going to go to Seattle.
At the time, like I said, we did the shoot at my old apartment, and I was living with actor Josh Prusia, and I think we hated each other. No, we just hardly. Sorry.
Me and Aaric were like, oh, I guess we shouldn't have recommended him.
Why? We spent all that time trying to convince Buzz to put him in the movie, and he just leaves anyway.
Our lease was up, and we basically moved on. I think he moved in with his dad, and I was kind of forced at that point to move back in with my parents, who happened to be up in Seattle. So I wasn't going to be around, and at that point, that was pretty much the end of my career.
And what was interesting is that we were trying to get Nate to be in the movie, and we're talking about his character, and then you die. I mean, it's towards the beginning of the movie, but you die, and he's like, I don't like that. Why would I die?
Actor Aaric Willard approached me and said, you're going to die fairly quickly. And I was like...
he just didn't like the fact that he was to die. He wasn't the star of the movie, I think, a little bit.
With that idea thrown completely to the gutter, the summer was over and other projects came into play.
Buzz had changed jobs, and he met Josh Ball.
Well, while doing Paid with the Dime, that was kind of our summer movie, and that was supposed to be the one summer movie we would do in the summer, and it became multiple summers where we couldn't finish the movie and we'd move to the next summer to shoot it. So in between, we came up with the project of Bumco,
and we needed a person just to play a bit part.
We really liked working with him. We're like, we totally should just get him to come into Paid with the Dime. And we fit him in the role of what would have been like Kim Sean's role.
The director of this movie was not happy with whoever it was that was originally playing my role, and I guess he wasn't showing up. He was, you know, the director needed somebody for this role, and I just so happened to be available and willing to do it.
It worked for me because Kim Sean was random, and Josh proved to be very random too. And so I had stuff just written out for him to say, but again, he would say it and bring something else to it. And it always was kind of surprising and brought a reality to it.
He brought a lot to the character that I was not expecting, a lot more than Kim Sean had really brought to it. And you know, he really fit the role really well.
I did bring the magic. In fact, you know, the first time I got on the set, I really wasn't feeling a lot of magic. I wasn't seeing it. I'm sure it was there, but I kind of amplified it.
We just want to show you how hot it is. And Buzz went to the bathroom.
I didn't go to the bathroom.
We know you didn't go to the bathroom. You just let it go in your pants.
Actually, that's not what it was. We were back there in the bushes and...
Oh my... I don't want to hear this.
I was wondering where I was going.
Scott, I think you and me are the only ones that aren't gay.
Speak for yourself. Wait. Aw.
Josh Ball was a character, and he was great working with him on set. He was very energetic about getting the movie done, and was all like, where's Buzz's director chair? We need to be carrying a director's chair for him. And that's when I was like, wow, this guy is awesome.
Yeah, well, I feel like the director is, you know, he has a certain position and authority, and you know, the way he wants this movie to look, you know, who cares about the way I want it to look? No, the director is the director. The way he wants it to look is, you know, I'm the worker.
Coming in with ideas and just doing some new stuff. It's just unfortunate because he joined the army and had to leave. But he warned us. He's like, I've joined the army. He called me up one night. He's like, I've joined the army. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm just letting you know because I know you need to finish your movie. I'm like, oh, well, wow. Most people that have ditched my movies just ditch. They don't tell me. So we planned a shoot to try to get all the stuff that would be important with him done for the movie.
The thing is, not everything that was needed was able to be shot with Josh Ball in one day. But he was gone, and the crew assumed they could figure out those shots at a later time.
So where we shot the majority of the movie is at that bridge. And it's probably a mile or more from the Willards property.
You could not access it by car. There's an old logging road. And, you know, getting down there, you had to walk down a steep, I don't want to say cliff, but a steep hillside. And, you know, there was branches and trees and stumps, and, I mean, you could fall and get hurt and, you know, twist an ankle or, you know, hurt yourself. And it was, to say the least, a pain in the ass to get there, you know, and then try to climb it back up. I mean, you were exhausted. I mean, you filming for 5, 6, 7 hours, and then, you know, you have to make the, you know, trip back up to the car or to the property.
We decided we wanted to camp out there a couple of times, I believe. You have to carry all the equipment, including like trooper costumes, our costumes, backpacks, all the guns, food, and the tents.
And on top of that, you got gear for the movie, the cameras and the tripods. So you're not just carrying your own weight, but you're probably carrying all the additional stuff you need. And I think there was times where we actually left gear down there, so we didn't have to, you know, carry it back up to the car.
And we didn't like taking multiple trips, so we would try to pack it all at once.
Buzz really loved this big futon pad that he liked to bring, and that was his deal, so he had to carry that.
I don't want to land on that.
Oh, Huck, why'd you do that? Huck, I don't understand. Huck, how do you ruin all our shoots?
And I usually decided to bring things that were completely unnecessary, like big mattresses. Hey guys, this will be great. We can do stunt work. We can jump off a hill and land on this thing, and it'll save us. Yeah, Buzz, you can carry it. I'll bring it. And I did, and it sucked. It was a waste of time. We might have used it once.
Conditioning for this movie was at times pretty demanding. Quite honestly, I probably complained about that the most. Maybe it's a half mile, you know, total. or a mile tops. But the times that we were filming, or at least it seemed like we were filming, was the hottest part of the summer, and wearing all that gear. I mean, you're probably wearing 15 pounds of gear.
90 degrees. We're just drenched in sweat. We would get down there and we basically wouldn't even want to shoot because we're so tired. Yeah, I'm done. Let's go.
But then there was times where we're filming and it's raining out, and now the 15 pounds of gear weighs like 25 pounds because you're soaked to the bone, and I did not enjoy that.
Just hiking there and back. It was something you never really looked forward to.
When we thought we should do that walk just to do test shoots and all that, so we went out to this bridge dozens of times.
40 times?
I would estimate 50.
There was a lot of, how do you say it, physical technicalities to it.
But did you give him knots in the middle?
Why didn't I?
We did, like I said, we did our own stunts. When you see the guy flying across the gravel, or flying across the hillside, or falling down, that was real. I mean, there was some injuries involved.
The stunts were really fun to do, actually. We tried to come up with a lot of different ways of making them different or making them look more dangerous.
That's the worst rope burn I've ever heard of.
What'd you do, Scott?
What?
What'd you do?
I rope burned my balls. We tied a rope around me and pulled me around to try to make it look like an explosion went off, and I would go flying in some other direction.
Scott, you okay?
Yeah. Put this in the movie. Some sweet rug burns or rope burns that I got from that.
We worked with firecrackers in this movie to make the bullets or explosions seem a little bit more realistic.
Go!
Used them before in a movie called Paranoia, but they were not as close. In this movie, they were particularly, close to the face. I was a little nervous. I think you've seen some of the behind-the-scenes footage. Me kind of jumping because it's actually, it's fear, and sometimes fear is a good thing. But in this particular scene or movie, you do see that, and I didn't want to be walking away from this movie with only 9 digits instead of 10.
One of them was like 33 or something.
Take it and wait, we need this end.
How did I feel about the firecracker straps to my arm? I would. I thought it was kind of cool, actually. Going off by my ear wasn't cool, but it was, In
every movie, someone tends to get hurt, and there's a lot of stunts done. But I looked back on Paid with a Dime, and I think I only have one real injury from this movie.
I light Buzz on fire.
One of the shoots, me and Buzz were getting some troopers that were going to be, shooting at the helicopter.
We usually use firecrackers when people got shot and stuff like that. We used to do that in our old movies too. Is firecracker would go off, and
we were running low on firecrackers because we used so much on the end battle scenes. We just had a bunch of them and they were unlabeled. So we're okay, so we're gonna put this on. We're gonna tape it to your jacket, Buzz, and they'll light it, and then I'll get.
He lit it, and it was more of not a firecracker where it just went pop. It was a flare, and so it just went.
Are you okay?
Don't burn my back.
It was basically thermite.
Okay. And it burned right through the material, and pretty right off the bat, I was like, "Oh, that's hot! Oh, it's
My bad.
And it melted. It melted his back, and of course, I'm not thinking that much of it. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. All right, what's our next shot?"
And that was shortly after I met Brittany, but before we were engaged, I think. And I remember going home, and she's like, "How was the shoot?" I was like, "Oh yeah," and I getting hurt was normal for us. And I was like, "Hey, I had this flare melted my flesh," and she was just like, "What?" and got really mad. And from then on, I kind of had to be a little more careful. But I think that's the one time I got hurt. I mean, yeah, there's some bruises and stuff, but that was the serious injury for me.
But the stunts, I think, just make the movie more fun to watch. So they're well worth the minimal pain that was received.
There's a scene in the movie where Scott Reeves' character, Trent, and my character, Morris, are on a hillside, and there's snow around, and we're shooting guns. Growing up, I don't think any of us really were familiar with guns.
That's not in, is it?
No, it's not. You didn't pull it all the way back.
Okay. What do I need to do? We always had our, fathers who had like a 22 or something like that, where you take it out and go planking, or BB guns.
I've done a lot of shooting with my family and friends and stuff, so I wasn't, adverse to shooting with live rounds as long as everyone was safe.
My brother, Christopher, was in the Navy and had some guns, and we asked him if he would let us, use them for the movie.
Pull that back. You have to pull that. Yeah. Pull it all the way back, and then just let it fall, and it'll chamber around. You're ready to go. Hey, Buzz, before you shoot, you gotta aim about 3 inches below what you're aiming at, because your shots are gonna hit high because it's sighted in for 300 yards.
Okay, so shoot lower.
Yeah, aim low.
If you can get a shot and you get the actual shells like popping out of the gun, that adds that much more dimension to the movie, of a realistic, so people can take the movie more seriously. Because I think at the time I was afraid that people were like, oh, these are airsoft guns. So throw in some real guns and it helps balance things out a little bit.
Like, I wanted action in one of the shots, and I know in one shot specifically, Scott was going to slide down the snow hill and start unloading.
Probably not the safest, but it looks cool, so it was fun.
I would hate for anything to happen to anybody. We took that extra measure where the gun could not go off while he was sliding down.
No ear protection, bad idea. I don't think Josh could hear for a good day, because he's standing right next to me as I'm just firing away.
Chris.
He was right next to me when he fired it, and we didn't wear ear protection. Who wants to see orange earplugs, through a movie? Not realizing how loud it was going to be, and when he fired it, it was so close to my head that I had a ringing sensation. And for that day, for that week, I felt like I was going to go deaf, because I had a hard time hearing. And in between takes, the director was trying to tell me, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, and I was having a hard time hearing him.
Shrapnel. I hope that comes back because it sounds all muzzled.
You're deaf for life, Josh.
I hope not.
Shooting the real guns, I think it gives that real effect that you want and that you expect to see in a movie, but it also has this potential danger because it could, hurt somebody, or in my case, hurt my hearing, and it was pretty scary, playing with guns is, a dangerous thing.
So while making this movie, several of us got married of the cast and crew. And one of them being Scott. And, he was doing a lot of time in this movie and going out to all the test shoots. And he was very much a big part of a lot of the stuff. And then he got married, and we shot video of the wedding just because Scott wanted video of his wedding.
My wife in the movie, Jess, was actually played by my real life wife, Erin Reeves. So it was easy to get a girl to be willing to make out with me.
Sometimes things go wrong. The scene gets ruined. And Erin rapes me. No.
I don't rape you sometimes.
And so the wedding stuff from their actual wedding just made it in the movie. It made sense because the cast was at the wedding. They're all in those shots. It's like, yay, let's take the wedding video and just put it into makes the budget look big.
And then also anytime I had to display an emotion towards anything going on with her, I could just make it real, since I was married to her. Am married to her.
Probably one of the most frustrating things about this movie is when the directors, or producers would tell you did a good job, and then a couple weeks later, after they edited it, or they looked at it, or watched it, didn't like it, and you would have to reshoot it. And sometimes it'd be over and over again.
Project started getting so long, and things kept happening to where we didn't think we could shoot enough. basically after I got married and started having kids, most of the time when we go shoot, it wasn't just, an hour here or there. It was probably a good weekend where we'd go out and camp at the bridge, or we were traveling to a location. And to do that once I had a family, especially with a brand new baby, I couldn't really spend as much time. And Aaric was having kids, Buzz ended up getting married. It just got harder and harder for one, schedule with each other to where we had a good block of time to go out and film the amount of material we needed. And so we said, okay, this weekend now it doesn't work for me, so you're only filming once a month, once every 3 months. And when you need so much stuff still to finish the movie, it just felt like it was never going to end.
Scott had pretty much called it quits, and Aaric moved hours away to Salem, Oregon. A year came and went until Aaric moved back to his hometown of Vancouver, Washington. Insisting to himself that he needed to finish what he started, he began working solo as what he called himself a second unit director, hoping leaving out the director would speed things up.
We were narrowing down the things we needed to shoot, but we still wanted to have this little part at the beginning of the movie with this little recruit guy. I had a friend at work named Nick, and he really wanted to do it. And usually when people say they do that, I don't take them seriously because they don't really end up showing up. But I became good enough friends with him that I'm like, okay, let's go do this. And he spent the night. We did that scene that basically tortured him with rain.
Sprinklered me. It was good though. Covered me in blood, got me in some camo, rubbed dirt all over my face without me knowing it. Then, yeah, that was good. Then basically just poured that fake blood on me you've had for years.
He was miserable, but he had a great time.
It was really easy for me to act, so it wasn't a big deal because it was cold. I was shaking, so I'm not a good actor. It was just the only part. Only the whole setting, brought the acting together.
No, Aaric kept telling me, I'm going to get this guy in our movie. He wants to be in the movie. I'm like, that's cool. And he's like, you guys are going to do a scene together. You get 2 scenes together. One's in the back of a pickup truck and one's with the pool table. And I'm like, cool, let's do this. And then Aaric told me he's shooting the pickup truck scene without me, with just Nick White. And I'm like, okay. And I hadn't even met him yet. And so they shot this whole half of the scene with Nick. Really dramatic scene. And then I had to come in later and do my half of that. And that was really weird because I had yet to meet him still.
The actors weren't even there together on set. That's how hard it was to schedule actors together for this movie. Well, I'll shoot one actor and then I'll shoot the other and then we'll splice it together. Hopefully the performances match.
Nick White was kind of like Josh Ball in that sense, where they were both very excited about being in the movie and doing a good job. And Nick was pretty dedicated. They had the cold water pouring on him.
So when Nick finally met Buzz, it was late night. I don't know if we started at 11 o'clock or something. I don't know.
All right, Nick White. This is his second shoot here on Paid with a Dime.
This isn't Kool-Aid.
Which is actually twice as much shoots than most of the actors in the movie.
This is 4 years later, and you just have new guys.
It's actually
shooting this pool scene that was totally not storyboarded, so we kind of didn't know how to do it, and so that's why a lot of it ended up getting cut out.
Horrible question. And what that means is for you to shut up. We spent so much time trying to get certain shots to happen, and we would get them, and we spent so much time focusing on that, and I think we got a little lost because the drama of the scene got lost.
We spent so long on certain shot he would make, but he couldn't make it, and there was times when Buzz just had a line right afterward. And
listen. What? And I just remember us leading up to the one shot where Nick was going to have to jump the ball over another ball, and we're like, this is going to be the hardest shot of this whole night, and it's just, we're going to take forever, so many takes, and we turn the camera on, and he's just like, ding! It knocks the ball into the hole, and we're just like, that was ridiculous. After one take, he did it.
I approached Aaric. I moved back actually after I think a few years, and I approached Aaric. He was still working on the film, to my surprise, And I said, you know, what can I do to help out? And so I think I started helping him with other things. Over those years, I kind of, you know, I grew up more and actually learned a lot more as far as like a lot of production software and stuff like that goes. So I knew I could help out there, posters and publicity material and stuff like that. Facebook helped out with that. And then once I started working on that, Aaric, I think, saw that I was like really interested and wanted to be a part of it, and so him and I worked really closely and actually went out and filmed a lot of stuff and found a fit for me in this role, and kind of we wrote some new material, and I think it worked out really well.
Kind of wrote it so he would be the band-aid. He would be the connection between certain scenes, because there was a lot of unanswered questions, and Sharp kind of became that character for it.
Nathan Reeves became an obviously much-needed help, and was there for whenever Aaric needed him. His charms and his superb acting abilities really are what made the movie what it is.
There came a big dialogue scene when I started taking over and directing a little bit more. I had to get the scene with Josh and Nate, and I gave them their scripts a month in advance. I'm like, this is it. You guys learn it. You each have a copy. They're all nice and shiny paper. I did this for you guys.
So Josh and I are lazy, and we like acting in the movie, but we don't like acting in the movie.
Aaric, you know, he gave us scripts, I don't know, a month and a half before that scene, and, you know, asked us to memorize it. Nathan was living with me at the time, me and my wife. And, you know, we told him, oh yeah, we'll memorize it, you know, and everything like that. And I think, you know, as soon as we looked at it the first day, we just, you know, threw it on the table or something, you know. And
there was a lot of lines, especially for me, and I'm like, there's no way I could remember these.
Can I hold the script while I'm like got the gun in my hand?
I would prefer you not.
Well, you prefer me
You
not.
can tell little things like that.
I know.
I'm gonna hold the script on myself.
I know. I want you to see it.
So I can just read you through your lines if you want.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
For me and Josh, we couldn't remember 3 words.
there was times where the, you know, script was right in front of me as I'm loading the, you know, clip, because I couldn't memorize my lines. You know, Aaric gave it to me that day or the day before and said, oh yeah, memorize it. Pfft, are you kidding me? You know, I have other things to do. You know, you got your personal life going on, and you're working a, you know, full-time job, and then once again, you know, that maybe the lines don't fit your character or fit how you would say it.
The method that we came up with is one person stands off camera and actually tells us our line, and then we say our line, and then it gets recorded, and then we go to the next line.
I wasn't scared. Oh, I was smart. That was more than 6 months ago, and I wasn't scared. I was smart. Yeah. I would say,
It's just long. And when I say lead him in, that means give him your line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Would that help? So I'm gonna say my line, okay? That was 6 months ago, and I wasn't scared. I was smart.
What's mine? Sorry.
I think Aaric was a little frustrated.
I gave you a month in advance, and now I have to work with making my movie, like directing crappy.
And I think it worked really well. We were able to, if you watch the scene, it's a stellar performance on both of our parts. You never would have guessed that we were actors.
Changed my mind. What's the treasure? I changed my mind. What's the treasure?
You're out of the shot. You scared me while looking down. Did you see me jump?
Yes.
But you can never do a wide shot where they can both sing it, because obviously you can't have a bunch of pauses in a wide shot. But in editing, you can hide it.
How did the director like that?
The director loved it. As things were narrowing down of what was left to shoot, 2 major scenes were left, and Scott was willing to come back and help, as long as he knew this would be it, and not another dreaded reshoot.
We wanted a tree to fall down in the end battle.
The idea was to cut down this tree. There was a couple of them that were old,
and we were like, well, let's choose the deadest looking one.
And so we thought, oh, it'd be real easy. We'll just push it, or like something like that. It'll just fall over and be awesome. And so we get out there, and it turns out that the tree is probably like way in the ground, and we can't just simply push it over. So some genius, I forget who it was, brought a rusty old axe, hatchet actually. It was like just a little hatchet,
could have been a toy, and decided to take turns basically chopping this tree down.
And the log looked like it was all decrepit. It would be really easy to hack through, but that was just this little thin outer layer. The rest was an actual tree, and so we spent hours just hacking away at this.
While people were shooting things, I was like, okay guys, I'll take the first duty of like trying to chop at this tree.
And so Buzz is sitting there chopping it. Now at this time, we figured, oh, it's going to take him a really long time to chop this thing down. Aaric and Scott and I went and we were going to shoot like a different scene, just waiting for Buzz to, you know, chop it or whatever, and then yell at us when it gets, you know, he thinks he's getting closer.
And I'm like, guys, it's getting close. You might want to bring the cameras over and start shooting. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but no, seriously, this thing's close.
So he's sitting there chopping it, and then all of a sudden he goes, guys, action, guys.
Well, wait, I'm trying to hold on to it, and the thing's just like,
we're like, what? So we're like scrambling to like get over there. At that point, the tree is fallen already, and it just like exploded in this huge burst of like rotten wood and stuff. And I'm sure like termites were flying, or I don't know, something. And so we're all disappointed. And then I think somebody goes, let's chop another tree.
So one of the things we came up with when we had the meeting with Scott, things need to be reworked. We realized that Morris is like somehow became the guy that everybody hates. So we're like, well, what's the worst death ever? Spitballing things, and we're like, oh, drowning. What's worse than drowning? Oh, drowning like a foot deep in water. So we're like, well, how can that happen? And we came up with the whole log thing. And so when we got out there, Josh was playing. Josh had heard about it every once in a while, but he didn't really think much of it. I mean, he always knew that there was some scene involving water, but when we actually got out there, me and Scott were with him shooting it, and he was not too happy about it. The water was ice cold.
For one of my fears is drowning. Drowning and burning alive. Those are two fears that I have.
So we made a scene of Josh's worst fear.
In that particular shoot, it wasn't a very warm day. I think it was a nice day, but it wasn't a very warm day, and that water was pretty cold. If I remember right, that water is coming off the mountains, and it's pretty cold.
He was just very nervous, and I felt very uncomfortable shooting during that scene because I knew I needed to get certain shots, but I also wanted to make sure he was comfortable. So me and Scott both kind of were trying to do our best.
Hopefully we'll help you not panic as much. Sorry, guys.
It's all good, man. You're a good sport for this.
I'm not one that can hold his breath underwater for any length of time. And the director, or directors wanted to have Morris basically drown. That was his death. So you put somebody's fear fear of drowning, and somebody who can't hold their breath very long, and then the fact that it's cold, it's scary.
It's like when you put the log on him, it kicked in like a claustrophobicness or something, where he felt like he was unable to get up if he wanted to, even though Scott was right there to hold it.
So the log we cut down was fairly ridden with ants. Me and Aaric knew about this, but we didn't tell Josh. We just put it on him. He didn't know. I mean, this was like an ant hill inside this tree, and they were just coating the thing. And so we're like, Josh, just lay down. It's cool. This clean log. And then we laid it on him. Well, I think they were red ants. They weren't nice ants.
No, I did not. I did not know there was bugs and ants. The one thing filming that scene though, when debris hits me, I remember actually knowing that it was going to happen, but I didn't realize how much of it was, how much dirt and rocks and all that. And I remember getting hit in the back of the head with a rock.
The camera. Okay, ready? Action.
And I was actually quite upset about it, but it's one of those things where you can't, get mad at the situation. You just kind of go with it and let that fuel your emotion. And I think it did, pay off. I think it paid dividends. And it was, like I said, it's not the way I would want it to go out, but it was also a very good way to go out.
But he had to just kind of lay down underwater and shake his head back and forth like he was struggling.
I wanted to be underwater for like, 30 seconds or something, and I was just going through the frames. Me and Nate were both looking at it and seeing where's the best shot of of how long he gets down to water. It was really funny to watch kind of over and over again, because Aaric, Willard, and I counted how many seconds he was under the water, and we're seriously there's like maybe 4 takes, and it's like we're watching the frames, counting the frames of when he starts to come out of the water, and like we're seeing, so that one he lasted 1.2 seconds. Okay. And he was apologizing the entire time during when we were shooting it, so I felt bad.
I think we timed it, and we never had even 1 full second.
It was 2.25.
I feel bad because I feel like maybe I gave up, but it's also that fear, and so you're trying not to let the fear in, but the fear does creep in. And even though there's people there to help you and help you up and stuff like that, it's just that fear, and it kind of takes over. And I think you see it on my face, filming, that there is fear there, but it's you're also trying to act, and the fear shows up, and I think that's what makes it believable. And then I think also that's where you see that emotion. We took all the film we had of Josh underwater and slow-mo'd it. We just had to keep splicing it all over to make it look like it was long enough for him to drown.
That whole scene is probably slow motion because of that, but it makes it more dramatic.
Next time we cast someone, we should see if they're willing to fake drown first before putting them in that role. Probably one of my horrors of filming this movie was the drowning scene, but I think it looked good. It looked, it was done very well. So our shoots had a fair share of technical difficulties. I can't even count how many different things broke.
This is what happens when you use costumes for 8 years for making a movie.
That's his tail right there.
Our cameras being one of them.
Hey, Aaric. Hi, Aaric. What seems to be the problem?
Stupid piece of crap camera.
What do you mean?
The tape won't come out. And it won't let us record. It won't let us rewind. It won't let us fast forward. It's basically a car without oil.
And it was on our last shoot with me. And we'd used fire extinguishers a ton, which actually had caused one of our cameras to stop working.
That same day, we'd actually planned on shooting a scene with actor Scott Reeves where involving these fire extinguishers that came in really handy because we don't have to have like a smoke machine or anything like that because we're broke. And it was a lot of fun because number one, you get to spray Scott Reeves in the face with some of this white stuff, whatever. I don't know what's in it. I'm sure it's not healthy. He probably has cancer, but we got to spray it, and it was actually a really cool scene because there's dust everywhere, and we're like, oh, it's gonna look awesome. The sun was like shining. It was it was a really cool scene. So we're filming it, and I think it was like halfway through the scene, Aaric's like, cut.
So the scene ends. I'm like, yeah, it was good. I did awesome, as usual. And then Aaric's walking away, and he looks mad. I'm like, what? That was awesome. Why would you be mad?
That's whatever's in that cloud got in the camera and ended up ruining the camera on that shoot. And so we couldn't even shoot the rest of that day.
Their camera at the time was prone to get dust and stuff inside of it because it's an older camera, and it would just stop working. And so next thing I know, Aaric's just walking off the bridge, like hitting the camera on his hand, like trying to get it to work, and I could tell he's pissed off, and the rest of us I know what's going on, but the rest of everybody else was like, where is he going? Because he's just walking up the hill.
But I was just trying to get away from all the extinguisher dust getting in the camera, and sure enough, it just stops working, and you can't play it or reverse it or anything.
Because our camera's done, and that's when you're setting up actors to come for that day, and you can't finish.
Luckily, Nate had brought his still photo camera to take behind the scenes photos, but it also is capable of doing video in actual higher quality than what we were shooting with. And that was actually able to take like 720p video for like 10 minutes at a time or something like that, because it wasn't a very big memory card.
We had to shoot every scene, and if we messed up, we had to delete it to reshoot it to make sure we could store as much as possible.
And we had certain shots that we needed to finish, and we were almost done. We had like 6 shots maybe left. And so if we had a mess up, we went back to old school filmmaking we couldn't just leave it and keep shooting. We had to delete it and go over it again. And the rest of the scenes, there was a handful of scenes that we had to shoot with my little still camera, just like this big, and run around with it. But you see it in the movie, and it actually worked out pretty well. So it doesn't get dust inside.
So one thing we had been chastised for in the past was continuity. We always had a lot of continuity errors. Hair, clothes, whatever.
Most movies, they film it in 3 months. Hollywood, they film their movie in 3 months, and you have, assistants and makeup artists, and, there's so many people involved. And with us, the same actors that are acting in the movie are also the camera operators and the producers, and sometimes you end up forgetting the little details like that.
In the movie, there's a lot of continuity errors, and one of the biggest ones that popped up was costume. I know very often I was asking Aaric, like, hey, did I have my jacket zipped up in the scene, or was it zipped down? Did I have my jacket on? Da-da-da-da-da.
I was wearing a jacket.
Yeah, matter?
No.
Our last shoot was Scott on set, and he basically said, this is the last time I'll be able to shoot with you guys out here. Like, okay, we better get everything.
It was my last shoot, and most of the time I had this vest on.
When I was editing the movie, I realized shortly before we did that shoot that Scott has his vest on, and then suddenly it's off, like shortly thereafter.
So, obviously, huge continuity error, major issues. We're watching the footage, realized, do we want to reshoot this? No, we had shot a ton of stuff without me with this vest on.
Okay, we need to get that shot when we go and shoot with Scott.
Aaric was like, okay, Scott, we got to shoot footage of you, like, cutting your vest off. Like, it, at this point, it had been hit by a bullet, and so it kind of made sense that he'd be kind of ditching it because it had already been kind of used and been hit. And so we get there, I'm wearing my vest.
How about we just shoot it getting hit or something, and then I rip it off?
Aaric goes, hey, Buzz, we need to borrow your bulletproof vest for Trent so we can shoot this bit with him cutting it off. I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. And so I take the bulletproof vest and I hand it off to them. That might have been when I'm like chopping the tree or something, I don't know, but I went off to do something else. And we proceeded to just shoot for the rest of the day, and we shot like the whole day long. Great footage, fantastic stuff. And at the end, it clicked in my head that I was not wearing my vest. I never put it on after they shot their bit, and we had shot a full day of great footage. Mind you, this is the day I think Scott said, this is it for me. I'm never coming out to this location again. And I'm like, I am not wearing the vest. That means the whole day I've shot without the vest. That means I've wasted the biggest shoot ever on this. I did not know how to say this to anybody. And so I thought, think proactive. Don't just bring up a bad thing. Think of the solution. And I just ended up saying something stupid like, so guys, I think it would be cool if we shot a bit where I cut my vest off too. And I didn't have to explain any further why I said that. I just turned around and Aaric was like, because he understood why I was saying it. He knew that I had not been wearing it the whole day. Immediately he was like, you just messed up the whole day's shoot. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
More or less replacing one error with another one.
You did it because Scott screwed up in the first place. It's all Scott's fault. Just pass that blame on to him. And you guys took my vest. I was wearing it, and then you took it to fix his mistake. So, we didn't do anything to fix that mistake in the movie. It's just in there. I suddenly just don't have a vest now. We fixed Trent's mistake, not Hash's. So I was talking the other day to someone about the process of getting this movie done, and you know, usually you shoot the movie and then you edit the movie and you see what needs help and then you like do reshoots and that's it.
We kind of did it all at once simultaneously. You know, we'd actually write the scene like a couple days before we actually shot it, and then we'd do visual effects if it needed and whatnot. And we'd be doing that before we even went on to the scene after that.
This movie we like wrote, shot, and then we would like stop shooting, and then we'd be like, oh wait, get rid of half that footage, and we'll put in other stuff, and then we'd shoot some more, and we'd look at it again, and be like, all right, get rid of half of that footage, and we'll go from that stuff.
And so we kind of just kept taking 2 steps back, 1 step forward kind of thing, and
time-consuming, wasteful process to shoot the movie, but it's became like the very organic way that the story kind of developed itself.
When the crew was not shooting, the many hours in between were spent in the editing room, where Aaric desperately tried to puzzle the footage together.
There was times when I would kind of step away from the editing chair for a while because I was just getting so frustrated with things. One time I'd watch what I had of the movie and just like totally love it, and then other times I'd just watch it and get discouraged and say, oh, this is terrible footage. It looks like a home movie, but it's like I had this tick in me that I always had to go back to editing because it's like something that I love to do. Not being professional really hit me sometimes.
Aaric's love for editing did not stop him from making the most obvious errors only a newbie would make.
When I needed a certain tape, I just needed one shot, and I've got tons and tons of tapes of footage, hours worth, and it's like I'd have to go through each tape because I wouldn't label them at first, and it wasn't until later on, like halfway through, that I need to label this, what's exactly on it. And then there was times when I didn't label the tapes that were damaged because of the fire extinguisher incident. I pop a tape from the fire extinguisher footage and pop it in and not know it's that tape because I'm looking for something else, and then realize that, oh no, the heads in the playback system are all dirty again, so I would have to take the tape out, take my cleaning tape, and fix the camera before I moved on to the next thing. So that was always frustrating.
We had a cut of the movie, and I watched that with Brittany, and she saw the movie for the first time, and she really was understanding where the movie was going, and all of a sudden at the end, the movie went all over, and she was really confused, like, who's Lewis? And she was like, I'm sorry, but I don't know all these characters, and throughout the movie you're naming off people that I don't know who they are.
We need to contact Hodges and Morse.
Dave's filled me in. How about Murphy and Connor? I don't want to end up like Jackson.
Remember Rice?
Lewis overruled me on that decision. So she explained that concern to me, which that had me worried because I don't want my audience completely baffled at the end of the movie when they should be going like, oh, this is awesome.
Came up with the idea of doing a little news thing for the Blu-ray, menu for the publicity, because news and publicity seems to go hand in hand to me. Trying to convince Buzz, I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Just come up with questions and we actually do it like an actual news thing.
One of the co-directors or directors, Eric Willard, he told me probably 10 times that the movie's done, we don't need anything else, And then every time he would call me up and say, hey, what are you doing? I'd be like, nothing. We'd get together and it's like, oh, I need to film this scene, or I need to film that scene. And this happened like time after time after time again.
He said, oh, you told me this movie was done. I'm like, that's just one thing. Do you have any information regarding the arms dealing your company has been accused of?
No comment.
Know if you or any of the staff at Screer were in Dragneer last week during the terrorist attack on the city's power plant?
No comment. Do you actually want me to say stuff?
He knows
you know, I like to get that stuff and hang out with him doing that kind of stuff. So
the news clip, I gotta say, is pretty awesome.
when they were asked the questions, they didn't know what was coming at them. That's non-scripted. That was the actors. It was an experiment to see if the actors could get in the roles, and I failed that experiment. Buzz was really good at it, though. He just kind of, I don't know, came one with his character, I guess. But I was so not expecting the questions that he gave me.
More specifically, is Lewis compromising your missions when he's financially forced to do so?
Can you repeat that question?
It was kind of cool because we're like, oh, you're going to learn about this agency and what it does, and it'll be a cool DVD feature because we'll find out about the stuff that didn't make it into the movie.
The way the clip was put together and the way the dialogue or the script for her to read was very believable to the fact that you felt like you were watching a real news clip. And in some ways, the news clip could be like just a mini movie or a short film.
While we were discussing it and realizing that in the interviews you'd be seeing the people's names, you would see their faces attached to those names, you would realize that they all work for the same agency. Any of those things that you might have been confused about, it all gets tied up in this news thing. And so after we talked about doing it for the DVD, we're like, oh, this has got to go in the movie. Like, this is perfect. And so now it's in the movie, and it really helps, I think, tie everything together.
So there'd be times when I'm editing and realizing there's so many continuity errors. Notice Josh Prush's hair length on his face. He has like a full beard a lot of the movie. Because the movie's shot within like 9 years, the actors don't want to keep their hair the same. And so I'm like, well, what can I do to kind of... So I ended up darkening a part of his face to just kind of up the contrast on his beard, kind of, and then left the rest of the shot the same. And it kind of hides it a little bit. But, you know, just little things like that nobody would even think about. I was just trying to fix errors, basically.
Not knowing how they would accomplish certain shots when writing the script, they attempted them anyway, knowing they could look like garbage in the end.
We had not done much green screen work before this movie, and so, you know, a lot of effects we were trying to push to be practical. That's why I was shooting for the real tank and Redmond, and but Aaric was like, we need to try to get some green screen in this movie. We have to try to shoot some, and to kind of, he started testing it out without me knowing. And one day, just to see if he had succeeded, he showed me this video. He's like, you got to see this video. I taped this the other day while it was happening, and it was amazing. Like, I don't know how my hamster was doing this. I'm like, what did your hamster do? What did Chewbacca do? And he's like, well, watch.
Clara! Hurry up! Chewbacca, looky!
What?
Come here, just look. I can't believe he's doing that. How's he able to do that?
And he's just, I'm like, wow, his claws, like, how does that work? How does his claws reach into the wall and crawl like that? I was baffling. I don't know how a hamster can do that. And I just watched this video, I was like, wow, isn't this amazing? I don't know how this is fantastic. And then Eric's like, you know, it was a fake video. And so he completely convinced me that his hamster was climbing the wall. And at that point, Aaric knew that he could do green screen and make it work. We did some helicopter stuff at the beginning of this movie, trying to make it more exciting.
And bullets are hitting the helicopter. Go, 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 go!
We shot some stuff with Josh Ball in front of a green screen of us being like in a helicopter, and I just kept hoping that someday that we would be able to make that footage work and not look fake. And so that was kind of a concern of mine, that we were kind of relying on the green screen.
Another time where we're like, well, we got a cool model, let's use the green screen. And Buzz had like taken a pen and just like put it on the bottom, kind of like controlled it like a basketball kind of. And like, oh, it's, yeah.
In the end, didn't play out very well. We ended up, Aaric ended up taking the helicopter to location and just kind of did forced perspective stuff to make it look like it was the actual helicopter on location, which actually worked fantastic. I love how this stuff looks now.
I felt, if you want to get the lighting right, this is years later, because I had put off the helicopter stuff
with the lighting of the sun. You just have it there in place. So you just basically force perspective.
I mean, Aaric made it happen, and we have some great shots where we got a helicopter in the movie that we have no access to a real helicopter.
I'm supposed to be telling you this, but that twig right there, it's about ready to break.
So you got a little model, but then it's got digital blades on it, and then you got digital tracer fire coming out of it, and you just got multiple elements on there, and that stuff was really exciting to watch. And then tied in with us sliding down ropes, and it played out really well. That's when the special effects really succeeded, was when they would play right into the action that we were doing.
It looks like Buzz is just cowering like this the whole time.
After Josh left, Aaric realized that he was going to have to fake some shots with Josh Ball. And here's the thing, Aaric started taking control over some of the production. He just started going out and shooting stuff with other people. And even though I was the director, he really took that part and just ran with it. He just got stuff done. And it was fun because Aaric would come back and show me footage, and he'd be like, look, this is what we got going on. And
one of the few things that we had left to do was a crucial thing with Hodge's character. One thing I did in kind of helping out when Aaric and I would film together is actor replacement. So there was a few scenes of his that we needed that were crucial. And so what I did is Aaric and I got together, and I watched some old clips that he had done and tried to kind of mimic his movement. And so Aaric and I... Is that my phone this time?
It's not me.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. You know, we really never showed my face, and I just kind of moved around, and, you know, I think nobody knew, unless you tell them, hey, that's me. There was one scene, though, where my head does pop up, and the geniuses over at IME were able to do a complete face reconstruction, and took hours of makeup and everything to get his face off. No, Aaric actually used the computer and digitally added Hodge's face on top of mine, which it turned out like really, really good, which is surprising because, you know, it's somebody else's face. So I guess I had a helmet on and it just worked out really, really well.
And so we had a whole added scene that Josh Ball should have acted in, but he didn't. It's a stunt double and digital effects, and it's fantastic. It's fun to see that stuff after it got... I didn't have anything to do with that.
One last element was needed to finish the movie. An original music score provided the icing on the cake to help the scenes flow correctly and add some much-needed drama and suspense.
This movie would still look like, I think, or feel like a home movie if it didn't have music. And what Nate brought to it was spectacular.
The music for the movie, this was actually something that I was really excited about. I had some newer technologies to work with, and I had come a long ways as far as creating music and things like that. So I was really excited to actually score a whole movie, come up with, you know, 3 hours basically of music for this thing. It was actually a lot of fun. I worked with Eric Willard pretty closely on a lot of it. Him and I would pull up a scene and work on it.
No, I don't remember that being in there before.
Oh, well, do you like it?
Yeah, that's alright.
Oh. I dropped the volume down.
Okay.
You're like, no, I hate it.
It's fine. If I don't like it, I can always like drown it down in the background. You know?
It's true.
But
Yeah,
it's
true.
not bad. If it was terrible, I would just say, take it out. Okay. Let's see what I have to deal with.
It's called creative inspiration.
This is... Okay. Here you go. Alright.
I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of funny because in the beginning of the movie, Aaric decided to produce some of his own music.
Crap!
I love that we have an original score for this movie, and each character has their own music, which is fantastic.
Something that I thought was kind of a new idea, which I found out was like some guy's theory or whatever, is to come up with or have themes for every character in the movie.
I had just finished watching Lost at the time, and I was a big fan of the show, and I loved how Michael Giacchino kind of had his own, every person, cast member in that had their own theme, and I'm like, we should really be doing this on any ensemble movie.
6 different themes, and then different variations of each one depending on if it was a action scene or more of a dramatic scene. Music, I mean, if in creating the music for this, I've watched scenes over and over and over again, to come up with what I thought was the perfect fit. And to watch the scenes over and over and over again with no music, it's like really, really boring.
It builds really well on some of the epic scenes, and I mean, watching the film without music would be just awful. I couldn't imagine. So it really, really helps, makes it more intense and just more enjoyable.
Now that the movie was finally finished after years in production, the crew had to ponder on how they could get the audience to see it.
So when the movie was done, I guess in my mind, for what it was, what it was, I decided that a whole lot of people aren't really able to watch it.
So people want to see it, and then you get online and we're promoting it on Facebook, and wouldn't it be kind of cool if we released it in episodes online for the people that don't even live in the area?
I decided to upload the movie to YouTube, and of course my account only allowed 15 minutes at a time, so I kind of broke the movie up into pieces and tried to turn it into somewhat of a mini series. And every week, Thursday night at a certain time, I would upload the video, and it would be open viewing for everybody on the Facebook page that we created, kind of to publicize the movie.
So we were releasing that online on Facebook, and the response was teeny, or small, tiny, minuscule, 0.
I had one person that write, some good comments, but other than that, nobody really commented. Is anybody watching?
I think maybe 9 people watched, and one of those 9 people was me, and another was Aaric. Yeah, not many people watched it, and so I don't know if people actually even care that this movie's done after all this time, and but I don't know if I care. I like watching the movie.
We uploaded the final chapter, and nothing really came of it, and we're like, okay, well, that was that.
And that's how our story ends. Oh, wait. Here's a little something extra.
So, I actually had been trying to make these, I wanted to make these little toy figures for the cast as my gift for thank you for being in this movie, and I wasn't telling them about it. I mean, I told Aaric because Aaric already had a little figure, and I was going to do that for commentary night. I just ran out of time, was unable to at all complete that project of building the characters, but I had a little surprise up my sleeve. Besides that, I know when I got there that night, Aaric was like, "Hey, did you bring the figures? Where are they?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry, I didn't finish them." And I know Aaric was kind of disappointed, and he didn't realize what was going to come. When I was little, my family would go to Kiggins Theater to see movies. That was a very magical thing to me. That was a big deal, and we even had a chance to go into the projectionist booth at Kiggins. My brother put his hand in front of the projector and projected in front of the movie, and the audience got really mad. And there's a whole story there, but I just kept thinking about how cool it'd be to have our movie in Kiggins, and Brittany, my wife, was saying, you should do it for your brother's birthday. And I'm like, that would be pretty awesome. And my birthday is, just 5 days away from Aaric's. So it's kind of like a birthday thing for me as well. And it's just an extra bonus for the cast that was in the movie. So I kind of looked into it, found out that Kagan's would totally let us do that, and I knew I was going to be able to surprise the cast with this. I was pretty excited about that. Brittany helped me get these like little invite cards that we could give the cast so that they can then turn and invite their friends and family to come to this movie that they're going to be in. They thought I was going to say something sappy. I didn't. I just handed them the invites because the invites were to the movie where I would then say something sappy.
I was speechless. It just seemed so. You suddenly have all this tear. You were happy, but you had all this tear and dread inside of you because you're suddenly nervous. You're like, okay, now people are actually gonna see it, and they're paying to see it. I didn't know how I felt about that.
They were excited, and then as we did the commentary that night, you could hear like the tone of that kind of go from excitement to like kind of fear, like, oh man, what are we doing? What have we got ourselves into? People are going to see this movie. It was kind of scary. I had already been going through that phase before these guys knew. I've been going, I don't know if I really want to show this movie. It's like such a big step. You work on this thing for 9 years to let people see it. It's really overwhelming to finally let it be out there.
And I'm like, well, now that I know all these people are going to be watching it on the big screen, I'm like, well, I need to go back on some visual effects and fix things up, try to do as best as I could. So I was, for weeks trying to tie up little details and the scenes and whatnot. And then it came to about a week and a half left before the premiere, and we still did not have a movie on a disc. I wanted the movie to be on a Blu-ray, and I guess that's what the theater was suggesting we played on. And I bought a Blu-ray burner, but it was not working in my computer. And it's like we could have gone with the DVD, but even then, the DVD we had, ones where you'd have to split the movie into 2 parts because it couldn't hold the whole movie. I was talking to Nate, and I was starting to freak out a little bit, and Nate's all, well, let's put the Blu-ray drive in my computer, and it worked fine with his, as far as we knew. Copying the movie from my hard drive onto his computer took several hours. So I was just at his house waiting, and then I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing really I can do. So I took off, and so next day he's like, yeah, we got it on there. So the thing is, to put it on the Blu-ray, we have to render it out for it to be compatible with the disc, and it took, if I'm not mistaken, about a whole day. Me and Nate are both working, so we're just trying to contact each other in between when we can work and when we can talk to each other. I get a message from Nate on my phone while I'm at work, and he's all, hey man, when do you want to pick it up? It's ready for you whenever you are. So I went on break, and I called. I'm like, hey, I need you to go through the movie and make sure that it plays all the way through, because it's a big screen moment. You don't want to screw that up. I'm like, okay, well, I'll call you back or whenever when I'm off work, and let me know how it went. He's texting me throughout my work day, and he's like, this many minutes in, working fine. And then finally when I talked to him after I got off work, he's like, yeah, the audio cuts out halfway through the movie. I'm like, oh no. I was like, well, I'm glad we checked it for one. I really don't know what to do. I mean, we'd have to re-render the whole movie again somehow differently. And that would take a whole nother day, and we still wouldn't know if it was going to work. So it was just a big chance, and I'm like, trying to come up with what we need to do, and I think me and Nate decided that maybe we could just re-render the audio, which took less time but still took a long time, and that was kind of like the last straw, and I was gonna burn, you know, a movie on the 2 discs, and Buzz is just like, burn the movie on 2 discs, doesn't matter, we need to get something to him. So I was busy doing that at home while I was just waiting for Nate's, you know, comments saying, you know, that it worked. He tells me, come get it. He lives out, you know, an hour away or so. So after I picked it up from Nate's, I drive all the way back, meet Buzz at Chuck E. Cheese.
Aaric got me the disc. I was able to watch it at home and just make sure it worked.
And he took it and he's like, well, I'll get it to him when I can.
And I knew I needed to run that by Kiggins so they can, like, I don't know, just make sure it works. I put the disc, my Blu-ray disc, in my car. I went to work. I also had my anniversary like right before, so there was like another day where I didn't make it to Kiggins. And anyway, the disc is just sitting in my car, and like the day of, I think, the premiere, Aaric texts me and he says, hey, if you haven't gotten it to Kiggins yet, you're not like leaving it in your car, are you? And I thought, that's exactly what I've done for the past 2 days. It's sat in my car. I secretly just kept to myself during the premiere. I'm like, this disc could totally be ruined. I don't know. Because when he asked me that question, it was the day of, and there was no way I could go back home and check it. So
they said that it was working, and you know, I didn't know for sure. I have to say, that's the big thing I don't want, is just people show up to a movie and it doesn't work. I'm like, sorry.
Also, I went by Kiggins to give him the disc, and the name of our movie was not on the marquee, and I like called them up and were like, why is it not on the marquee? And they're like, oh yeah, you're supposed to have paid for that. And I'm like, I didn't, you guys never said that. And that was very confusing, and suddenly they were saying, well, we can't put your name's not on there. And I'm like, oh. And I just hung up, and I was just like, oh. And my aunts came out of town to visit, to see this movie, and I was telling them that, and I'm like, oh, my name's not on the marquee. And they're like, what? It has to be. Call them back and say, well, that they're going to pay for it. And so my aunt paid for it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I called them up, I'm like, yeah, I put my name of the movie on the marquee. And so they were like putting that up like an hour before the movie opened. I wanted to do a speech before the movie, not only as a thank you, but also wanted to warn people a little bit. There's just some people there, I'm like, this movie's going to offend them, and I got to somehow warn them. So I got myself to be able to go up on the stage, and I was worried that I was going to collapse because I'm not a good public speaker at all. This is the biggest crowd I've ever spoken in front of.
Thank you. Can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm Buzz Willard, and I made this film with a group of my friends, and I think work's calling me. Oh, you're right. Turn my phone on.
And it was just a big deal to me to speak and thank everyone, and I made it through it. I was just amazed.
So this movie is a product of me and my brother and just gathering some friends and shooting like a home movie. This started like 9 years ago, and it just kind of grew and grew, and life kind of happened, and I think I'm just glad that it's finally done. We finally finished it, we pulled it together, and I'm just really proud of the crew that I had to make this movie. I mean, I'm really talking like 2 to 3 people trying to, you know, the people that are acting are also the people holding the camera. I mean, it was tough to do. So thank you for all coming, and thank you for the crew, for all your coming back year after year and getting it completed. It's kind of crazy and amazing that it happened. Thank you, cast. I'm really glad we got this done. And thank you to the families for supporting us and being there for us to get this done. And I want to thank my wife, Brittany, my beautiful wife, who this would not be happening if it wasn't for her. She kind of planted the idea, and it really has helped us make this happen. So, thank you. I love you. Okay.
Buzz gives a little speech before the premiere. It's all quiet, and then there's black. And then there's more black. And it seems very, very long. And I'm just starting to, sweat bullets. I'm just like thinking about all the people that I know and all these other people that came to see this movie, and then nothing's playing. I'm like, oh no, something. I've started to shake a little bit. I think I was so nervous, and suddenly the logo started to come up. And even then, I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna cut out. But eventually, like 10 minutes in the movie, I finally calmed down. I'm like, okay, I think we're good.
But the movie starts, and my movie is playing in Kiggins. Like, it was hard for me to understand that happening.
Watching the movie from with the rest of the crowd kind of was a surreal experience. Seeing what they laughed at and how they reacted to certain things, it was really a treat.
It's been so satisfying for the cast to watch their reactions to this whole thing, and them being proud, because throughout the process I heard a lot of complaining from the cast, and it was hard to get them to come back. And here they were in the theater, and they're like, yes, we finished this thing that we never thought we were going to finish. We did it, and it's playing. And to have the movie end, and listening to people laugh and chuckle and clap at parts of the movie, and then the movie ends, and I'm just waiting, like, it was quiet. The credits are playing, and it's quiet. I'm like, are they processing the movie? Are they trying to figure out what happened? Like, do they get it?
I'm just waiting how people are going to react towards the end, if they were confused or what.
And then it got to the title, Paid with the Dime, and the theater just erupted. That was satisfying. And having people come up to me right after it played, and they're like, yeah, they're gonna go get Jess, right? That's what they're gonna do. Now they're together and they're gonna go get Jess. That's the sequel. And I'm like, wow, you got it, and you're actually saying and suggesting I should do a sequel. That's positive, thank you. And I had my wife call me, and she's like, you're gonna get the cast up there, right? And thank you for my wife for making me think of those things. And so I brought the cast. I'm like, come on guys, we gotta go up front. And I got to introduce the cast. This is Scott Reeves, who played Frank. Josh Prusha, he played Morris. Nathan Reeves, he played Sharp. And my brother Aaric Willard, who did like everything in the movie in terms of effects and editing and all that jazz. My brother Aaric Willard.
I'm happy with how it turned out. I mean, it's entertaining to watch. It's always easier to watch as someone who's in it, because I can understand more where the movie's coming from. I think from an audience perspective, they might have a harder time grasping what we were trying to portray. What we wanted to portray, I think, still came across, where it's just this outline of these guys going through these different things. Really, in the end, what they thought they were doing for money changed to what they were doing for each other. And I hope that comes across in the movie. I hope I'm right, and that's what the movie's about.
Everybody's their own worst critic, and I think it's hard to look at something that you spend a lot of time and effort and work into, and you're always thinking, I could have done it better. I know in the case of this movie, there was such a big gap in production time. I mean, we stopped shooting for like a couple of years and then came back. I think overall, the movie did turn out really well. A lot of people put a lot of hard work into it, and I hope people enjoy it.
I really enjoy the film. There's times where I wish that maybe we could redo it, but I think the message is there, and I think that's what's the most important thing. Maybe it wasn't delivered the best way, but I think there is a message there. I like how the characters did develop. It's not all action. It's more drama. There's more emotions. There's more feelings. Things had a purpose. It wasn't just a bunch of guys running around just shooting stuff up.
And I think that's what makes a great movie. You know, anybody can shoot a gun, anybody can kill somebody in a movie or whatever, but when there's actual emotion involved and it strikes a chord, that's when you know it's a good movie. And even though I was a part of this, watching it, I was proud, but I was also moved by it. You know, not emotionally upset, but I was moved by it. That, you know, it's almost like a band of brothers. They all pulled through to make this happen. And yeah, you wish you could change things, or maybe you were critiquing yourself, but when it comes down to it, it's actually a decent movie. You know, and it's because of the story.
I'm sure there's a ton of things we would all like to change, but that's can be said with probably any movie with anybody. So nothing's ever perfect. Our end result is still probably more than we could have hoped for, considering how long it took us to make it and all the different trials we had.
I think we took the phrase "finish what you started" to an extreme, too much. We probably should have quit several times over, but I don't know, like I said, it was that drive in me where, you know, I like to finish, and I became, you know, I love the movie. I know it's not a movie that other people like, but it's the movie that I wanted to see, and even though it's not, you know, top-notch quality, I still enjoy the story, you know, quite a bit, and I think it's one of those movies that you get, you know, something out of it, and it's also a movie you can watch more than once and see it a different way, and that's really what I dug about the project. Never dreamed it would be this big project when we started it, but I'm happy with what we have, and it's definitely an experience.
This has been a crazy adventure. My dad has been such a huge supporter of us making movies, and he helped us shoot this movie, and he kept asking me when you're gonna finish it, and I lost him, and I wish he could have been there, because we finished it, and we got it at Kiggins, the theater he used to take us to. So we did it. We got there. We finished our project.